Are you ready for it?
I'm a real tough kid. I can handle my shit. They said fake it, gotta fake it till you make it, and I did.
I'm just a terrible person, I guess.
Lights, camera, bitch. Even when you wanna die. Breaking down, I hit the floor. All the pieces of me shattered as the crowd was chanting more. With a broken heart.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sarah the Raging Tomato, bringing to you live another Throwdown Thursday. I was super excited. I didn't know what I was going to do tonight until I was trolling in the X, the Facebook, the feeds, the this, the that, and I just kept seeing this topic of little Miss Sydney Sweeney caught between American Eagle and the Yahtzee stuff, the propaganda. Is it racism? Is it this? Is it that? Is it all of this crazy stuff going on? And I thought, man, I can't just have one person on with this type of opinion. I had to go all out. So, of course, I'm bringing back all of your favorites. I brought back the soy pill. I brought Ryan the Radical Coder, our favorite regular. He's been here since before this was even a channel, by the way. So screw all of you. Enemy Charlie, newest to the channel. Of course, the absolute fresh meat for all of you. We've got Joe Lewis. He's probably a little nervous when I say that. But I'm super excited to kick this off. And I just want to do one thing real quick. Just a big shout out to Jess Gerald dropping a big hundo in just to kick us off. I love that. Setting the wavelength now. All of you will donate $100 right now. And that's just how it's going to work, right? Apparently so. But a shout out to you, Jess. I hope you enjoy your time away from the screen later. All right. So the topic is the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney ad is a Yahtzee propaganda. We're going to do our best to use our words wisely, but we're going to make some boo-boos here or there. I can see that. Ryan, why don't you kick us off? I know you got a full-blown statement ready to go.
I certainly do. Now, I initially, when I heard about this topic, or when I first heard about the commercial, I was a little neutral, and the more I thought about it, the more I dug into it, the more confident I felt in the proposition that we're discussing tonight. So, I expect early on, surprisingly, I think you're likely going to concede actually pretty quickly once I lay this out. So let's kind of walk through it. I have two like core checkpoints that I want to as like a sanity check that I want to kind of walk through. And I think if we agree on both of these core checkpoints, which I think we all will, then I think the conclusion is pretty indisputable. Let's start with checkpoint one. Do we all agree that Nazi propaganda explicitly, I already said it, sorry, explicitly constructed a racial hierarchy, placing the so-called Aryan ideal, which was blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair features, at the very top of this racial hierarchy? Because this was basically central to the Yahtzee ideology and to their core ideology. It was kind of like a visual shorthand for purity in their propaganda. And checkpoint two is if we all agree that their ideology was rooted in eugenics, specifically the belief that some people had good genes, other people had bad genes, and that these categories were used to justify political, biological, and moral judgments. Because, I mean, this isn't like some crazy academic theory stuff. I think this is all like high school level history about World War II. This is like a pretty established, pretty clear propaganda where that they obsessively promoted an inherited superiority as a marker of human worth. This was like foundational to their worldview, the bloodlines, the purity, selective breeding, and basically who deserved to thrive, or who deserved to thrive based on all that. I think if we align on just those two things, then the conversation around the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad becomes a lot harder to dismiss, because what we're looking at is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman with a retro educational narration and a campaign built around the phrase "great genes." And yeah, it's a pun, but it's marketing that happens to overlap perfectly with the ideology in question, and it's a near perfect echo of it, visually, rhetorically, and symbolically, whether intentional or not. Now, personally, I do think it was intentional. I think the timing, the stock surge, the media spike, it all looks like a strategic provocation. But to be charitable and say it wasn't, and just imagine some marketing team stumbled into this while chasing a punchy slogan, I think even then the function remains the same, because I think even then the people who hear dog whistles like this, they saw it and immediately recognized the signal they were hearing. They know these tropes. They know what great genes means in their discourse. They know exactly what it means and how to elevate the Aryan aesthetic in this glossy aspirational frame. And they know what it looks like when our mainstream culture is kind of tiptoeing back into the language of inherited worth. And I think that was kind of the point. I think the bait that they laid out was intentional. And then the outrage cycle that we're now experiencing and all taking part in tonight began. So the people who notice it, the people who name it, become the punchline. So in some sense, that's why we're here, because that's why this became a topic. The far right gets to say, look how hysterical the libs are. They think a jeans ad is Yahtzee propaganda. And then just like that, that same aesthetic that once fueled fascist violence gets reabsorbed into the content cycle. It's just like another meme, another viral moment. And I think that's like the process of normalization in what I personally call postmodern neo-fascism, under which we're living. And I want to be clear, this isn't just about gaslighting us, the libs. It's about gaslighting you, the viewer. It's about making you question your own instincts and convincing you that noticing a historical pattern repeating itself makes you the weird one, that you're the problem for seeing it. But I'm here to tell you, you're not. Because whether this was calculated or careless, we're looking at a major brand echoing the exact racial hierarchy and eugenic framing that shaped one of the most dangerous ideologies in modern history. And I think that's worth noticing.
Fair enough. Thanks, Ryan. Joe, do you have some thoughts? I think you kind of vary a little bit in the field of a couple different opinions. What you got for us?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, it's a little complicated. I'll try to keep it as low to the ground as I can, because there's a wide range of different identity-based reactions that can happen. And I'm not here, I didn't even accept this to come on to say whether or not I think the ad is good or bad, but it does point in this like intersection of some real and legitimate cultural tension. It uses a visual aesthetic that's deeply tied to the idea of like whiteness and white people. Not only just, and we'll get to this probably, and to really make sure it's clear for people watching to understand, but not just white people as a terms of just white skin and existing as a white person, but also sort of deeper types of pathologies and beliefs and ideas. It also expresses an idea of like desired, disciplined, feminine imagery, sexual orientation, and all of that is historically tied to a bunch of stuff. And Coder kind of knocked on a few of those doors, and that alone triggered a lot of reactions, clearly. And it also taps into, I think, a pretty widespread sentiment. And I'm not here to litigate the truth or validity of the claim, but essentially the claim is some variation of the idea that white people, or in this case, white women, are being erased from public media life and then being replaced with other groups of people. And I don't believe that's true, but I recognize the claim exists, right? And when you combine that feeling with imagery like this, then you get a bunch of different reactions. My personal stance is that there is no single response that defines this ad. I think what does come from it is that based on how people react to it, based on their own beliefs, their histories, and even their identities, and I hate using that word in the context of the conversation, all those responses, whether it be indifferent, confused, outraged, celebratory, they all exist together that give the ad its legitimacy. And I think it's okay and good if I were to make some type of moral stance, that we're able to see a piece of content, see a bunch of different ideas about the content, and being able to kind of talk about it, have conversations like this. I think that's important for society to engage with these ideas, and not one idea is superior, not one idea is correct. But based on how we all live and see the world, we can come together and at least try to sort of work out the ideas.
That's fair. That's fair. Charlie, to you, my darling. You're muted.
So I don't have anything written out, and I feel like Ryan and Joe, you both had some very strong and good opening statements, so I'll try to match that a little bit. I personally feel I don't think that the ad was intentionally done in a way for right-wing extremist purposes. I think it was either a very stupid advertisement meant to reference an older advertisement, which was also a really bad advertisement because they had a 14-year-old girl in a sultry voice, half naked, talking about genes and procreation. However, I also think that, like Ryan said, I think that this definitely could have been, done intentionally to manufacture controversy. Because what's going to happen is that you'll have a bunch of far-right people go, oh, wow, haha, we love this. But you are also going to have very far-left people call it Yahtzee propaganda. And in return, you will have people who are more centrist, maybe more center-right, more center-left, go, oh, wow, those people are crazy, let's disavow them. And all that ends up happening is that you get the American Eagle name trending. And Ryan said that the stocks have gone up, so I feel like that's potentially validated. However, I do think that it was, again, either stupid or very particular. Because again, like in our culture, blonde-haired, blue-eyed whiteness is intertwined, and I don't think can necessarily be separated from Aryan, that image. I mean, I think my gosh, everyone's history teacher, when we were learning about World War II, would point at the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kids and go, oh, Adolf would have loved you. You know what I mean? I'm sure you got that, Sarah. It's a part of our culture. And so, talking about genetics in that way, using Sydney Sweeney and saying she has great genes, I think for everyone is going to be like, well, that was weird. And also, I realized that maybe I'm spending too much time on Twitter, but kind of the Victorian era race science in which Yahtzee race science was based upon, language from that era has entered into my lexicon. I was talking about Sydney Sweeney, and I referred to her as having poor white girl physiognomy. And I was like, I'm using the Victorian era race science language. And that's just becoming more common, is that people are kind of, without necessarily understanding what they're doing, invoking Yahtzee and Victorian race science, which is not great. So yeah, that's my statement. I don't think it was intentional, or if it was a marketing thing and not a, intentional, hey, we are pro Yahtzee now. Anyway, that's my statement.
Fair enough. Soy pill, steel man the crap out of this.
Yeah, so just off the bat, I think obviously, well, maybe not obviously, because Ryan's here. I don't think American Eagle are Nazis. It's founded by two Jews, the Silvermans. I don't think they were like, maybe they're not in charge of the marketing, but I highly doubt that they would have seen some sort of backdoor like dog whistle ad and said, oh yeah, let's sell more jeans by appealing to the Nazi. Like, I don't think they're doing that. Sydney Sweeney is very liberal herself. She goes to the LGBT GLAAD awards. I don't think she would be participating in this if she even had an inkling that it was that. The reason that people are upset, though, is justifiable, I think, because if you look at kind of where the cultural sentiment has been over the last, I want to say 5 years, or at least since Trump, people have been complaining a lot about woke stuff, DEI, and very specifically on the internet and in these farther right circles are interracial ads with like a black and white couple. And as of the last, I don't know, since November, since the election, the claim now from MAGA is that woke is dead. Woke is dead. There's no more interracial ads. And Sydney Sweeney, they're trying to claim her as this like MAGA, brainchild. Like, cool, white women are back into the lexicon. So if you couple this kind of like narrative of, well, now we're allowed to show white people again in advertisements, along with the kind of rise of fascism, and then couple that with the anti-Latino sentiment, the white genocide narratives that are popping up and are becoming more blown up because of the right wing, people are upset because they have that on the mind. Do I think they did it on purpose? Probably not. There's a chance it was used to sell more jeans, but mostly it was there to get upset by the libs, because the libs are prone to be upset right now because for legitimate reasons, because of the racism, because of this like weird cultural narrative. Now, I have seen far more things from Fox News and the right wing talking about how mad the left is than I have seen people being mad on the left. And I think they're doing that, like Ryan said, because they want to distract from the fact that they're trying to privatize Social Security, that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, that, all the other horrible things that are happening. They're kicking people off of Medicare, that Israel and Palestine is getting worse and worse every day. So do I think they're Nazis? Obviously not. However, there's very good reasons to believe that, this is Nazi coded, even though it's not intentionally. And now the right's just using this to say, oh, look how bad the libs are because they're doing such a god-awful job.
Wouldn't that be a kind of a projection then to say it wasn't meant to be Yahtzee propaganda, but then I can understand how it can be received that way? Wouldn't that be a projection?
I mean, it is a projection of, hey, I've been seeing a lot of Nazi sentiment on the rise, and now I see something that is Nazi coded, which is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman talking about her great jeans, but it was probably just a pun about jeans. I really don't think they were trying to dog whistle, but that doesn't matter. The point is we're primed to look at it that way, or a lot of the left people are, because of all the crap that's going on right now, because there's a huge right-wing fascist, rise. I mean, if you look at that Jubilee thing 2 weeks ago, there's like a whole swath of people that are now very comfortable saying, oh yeah, no, I don't disavow the Holocaust. I actually am a fascist. It's very, very, very prominent now and more in the mainstream. So that's why people are reacting the way they are. I understand why. It is silly, but I mean, I don't blame them.
Okay. So essentially we think that there's Yahtzee kind of fascism direction going around. And so therefore anything that has an inkling of that will just automatically be categorized in that notion. Is that what you're saying?
Well, can I
go ahead, Ron?
Can I engage with that a little bit? Because I think something to really keep in mind here, and to note, like, I think all of us are vaguely like close to a similar page on this. Like, we're recognizing how it looks, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody here is calling to cancel or boycott American Eagle, right? Or no one here is outraged. No one here is saying you shouldn't watch TV shows with Sydney Sweeney.
What are you talking about? We already boycott American Eagle. Nobody shops there. Are you kidding me? Who like? Can we not? I don't want to interject here. Right,
no,
play a little bit of basketball, but like I can't think of a single instance that I've ever went into American Eagle in my life. I can't personally, but again, maybe that's because it's not. Maybe it's because it's not advertised for me. But maybe within your audience, Sarah, I'd be very interested to see how many people have actually shopped at AE.
I have a teenage daughter. The other one, I think it's Ariel. There's a brand. No, it's I think it's Ariel. American in there. I think it's hold on.
That's a good point though, Joe, is like this is clearly meant to appeal to straight people because Sydney Sweeney is a hot woman, but like she's selling jeans for women. Like,
and listen,
Harry. It's called Harry.
Yeah,
Harry, and that's like bras and underwear and crap. And then American Eagle, she shops there, and I mean it's in your standard teenage package, right? Hollister, sure. American Eagle. God, what else did we have? There was
and then depending on when you lean, right, you might end up like your daughter. I don't want to inject too much here. Like your daughter might not go to Hot Topic, but she might have friends who go to Hot Topic, for instance. Right.
That's
more of like that, like gothy store.
It's the same mall we all shop in, right? And we were all teenagers once, and we all made our way through the stores, and the guys all wear the same stupid cologne, and the girls all wear the same lip gloss, and they all shop it. If you didn't have like the bird, if you didn't have the Hollister logo, like who are you? Then
are you trying to suggest that Men's Warehouse has a monopoly over clothes at weddings? Like every man has the exact same blue suit.
Probably, yeah. If you don't, then what are you doing?
You get a target suit. You roll the dice. You roll the dice and get a target suit and hope it holds out.
So yeah, essentially the market is, I would say, between like 13 to, I'd put it as, if you're 21 shopping at an American Eagle, I think less of you. But 13 to 18 for sure. We got that whole high school crew, right, until they grow out of it and they decide that Ross is significantly.
I thought that we left it in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. I feel like that's the last time I saw people wear American Eagle.
Maybe
I just don't see it.
I think I remember hearing that they had taken a nosedive in terms of sales. And so this is their track back.
Because they didn't really have skinny jeans, I think, as much as they're mostly boot cut. And when those fell out of fashion, I think that, yeah, they did take a nosedive.
Yeah, but they're about to be everywhere now because Sydney Sweeney is promoting it.
I do have a decent amount of American Eagle apparel actually, because for a while every year on Christmas my dad would get me a gift card. It wasn't my first pick or anything, but it was just what he threw in my stocking, and I appreciated it. I would get underwear and like polo shirts and shit, and they're fine.
Are you gonna burn it all now?
I'm gonna have to, I think, and to with a sigil of Sydney Sweeney on it.
Well, something to that, right? I think there is something legitimate to say that American Eagle is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but probably just kind of irrelevant. They exist in a particular niche. They don't really have any type of, like, when you think of American Eagle, it doesn't really point to anything. It just kind of points into, I'm going to be very careful when I say this. It kind of just points into like girls in between the ages of 16 and 22. And that demographic. And
Justin Timberlake.
But like that's a constant cycling. That's a constant cycling group, right? So you just have to stay trendy and stay with the styles. But even at that, and that's what kind of blows my mind a little bit more, because we have Sydney Sweeney here doing this, and obviously she's kind of a hot thing right now. I keep up with the times only thanks to my daughter right now. When she gets older, I won't know anymore. But I know Sydney Sweeney is really hot on the market right now. Her.
What would you rate her out of 10?
Sabrina, I think she's pretty hot. Like,
damn, she is so hot she doesn't even get a number. That's crazy.
Well, I'm not a big I think she's hot. Like I put her at probably an 8.
She's a good looking woman.
Yeah, she's a good.
It's undeniable.
You said you had poor white girl physiognomy, Charlie. So
that was a joke. That was a joke that I saw on the internet. I was saying that like it felt weird for the Aryan master race to pick her, because when I think of that, I think of the weird propaganda posters of like the crazy looking.
Are you trying to say? Are you trying to suggest that
her jeans aren't good enough?
Are you trying to say that like Cerise Theron's just getting too old and they got to just chop her out? Like, we need another one. Who can we pick?
Yeah, they do. They need to find another one. She just kind of looks like a. I don't know. I was like, she just doesn't seem to.
I'm still not convinced
but then we have people like Billie Eilish, right? Who's just
I thought you'd be
dresses dumpy. She's got beautiful eyes, but she purposefully dresses dumpy. She doesn't show off her she doesn't want to show off her body. Like she's.
I mean, we've seen it.
She's just right.
the Gooners know. The Gooners know. Like, listen, they're on the research.
Picky, like sometimes I look at some of these stars that they pick and I'm kind of like, why? Like it's kind of odd, but okay. But essentially it's what's hot right now. It's what's cooking. It's what's trendy. And again, I only know these things because my daughter follows. I mean, now they're moving to influencers and not necessarily celebrities. Celebrities are like almost begging to get sponsorships anymore, right? So we've got influencers doing a lot of the work. But even at that, okay, so
I had a point, by the way, not to cut you up mid-cook. The reason why I question the legitimacy of American Eagle is that I think they have to take, if you want to be relevant, as many streamers have shown, you have to take risks. You have to take certain type of rhetorical risks. You need to have certain type of linguistic risks. And I think I don't think American Eagle is naive of the sentiment that's going around in America. I don't think, and again, like, I don't think they care whether or not the sentiment is serious, like legitimate or illegitimate. They just know it exists and they kind of tap into it. And I think they took a risk of tapping into the sort of identity sensitive snowflakes, because there's no shortage of that within Black communities. As an example, like you're hard pressed, like there's so many Black people who will like see the smallest bit of racially coded undertones and then just go off on Twitter and make manifestos about how we have to like change and revolutionize society and shit. And I always look at that and go like, all right, I'm very secure about who I am, and I hope you seek therapy, my friend, but I'm not reading that. I'm just not going to read it. And then on the other end, there are people who sort of buy into that sort of coding that Coder, Charlie, and Sawyer kind of alluding to, where they do legitimately believe that the white race is being erased. They do legitimately believe that white women are being sort of softly moved to a side for non-white women, and they see Sydney Sweeney as a callback to like, we're back, baby. Like Ozzy Osbourne's dead. What the other dude, Hulk Hogan died. We lost our champions, but she's our new one. Let's get it. But again, like those sides are kind of the extreme. Where I think for a lot of people, I think they kind of fall under the camp of like, this is an ad, who cares? But that even this is an ad, who cares, has within like my point has like a place in all these other different perspectives. It's not a matter of like which one of these is absolutely correct. It's just that they kind of all exist together, and those things all together make the ad that it is. And I think American Eagle won. Like, I think if I were to believe that they knew that these different sentiments existed and they just wanted to sort of spark into that to drive attention, I think they absolutely succeeded.
And just to piggyback and jump back into the what I was getting when I mentioned American Eagle a while back. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. But I think it's the fact that nobody here is like calling to boycott or cancel them, I think is notable. And like no one here is like really outraged about it. I think we're just analyzing a trend and a phenomenon. Like we're examining the outrage and the lack of outrage and just the reaction cycle that's happening, the content cycle that emerges from controversies like this. And I think that's what I'm pointing to, is like when I think about them being aware of like what they're tapping into, is that the culture at this moment is ripe for a controversy like this, I think, and one that will get a lot of content, get a lot of people like there's going to be libs who are like, wow, this is Nazi propaganda, and there's going to be a lot of right wingers who are like, look at all these insane libs, and all of it is of course going to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is on the Epstein list and traffic children. But that is, I think that's just kind of where we're at. Oh, and sorry, the last thing on that, I think it's also relevant that they like Charlie mentioned, the ad that they are echoing is of the Claire something, I think, like who was like a 14-year-old.
That was
from,
crazy.
I guess the 90s, who they did almost the same commercial, and she's like putting on the jeans in the commercial. Like it's the commercial is her putting the jeans on, like getting dressed. And this is a child, and it's so it's echoing
she's like
that
breathy and
yeah, she says,
so
what is in between me and my jeans? Nothing. Which in the 80s is crazy. And then there was like, oh, she's a minor. And again, like this is obviously like this is pre-internet. This is pre being able to just like have like a panel like this to exist. So people just kind of had to look at this imagery and just kind of sit on it and then
actually, yeah, now that you mentioned that, I do think this might be a backdoor dog whistle to remind everyone, as it's MAGA coded, that Donald Trump had sex with minors.
Which is worth remembering.
I wouldn't say
left field soy pill. What the hell?
All right. I was always of the opinion
for decades, actually.
I was
on a mission.
Hold on. I need more of elaboration on that.
Well, you didn't know that Donald Trump was on the Epstein list, is in the Epstein files himself, has flown with Jeffrey Epstein multiple times, is best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a while, is said that Jeffrey Epstein likes girls on the younger side, but, he likes them a little younger than me, knew about all the trafficking and recently was hot mic'd, or I guess asked the question of whether or not Jeffrey Epstein took girls from Mar-a-Lago and had nothing to say about the fact that those girls were being had sex with. He's just like, oh, he took my employees and seemed to be mad about that. He stole them. All that's been in the record for a while. It's kind of weird the right's just now realizing it, though.
I'm not going to go as far to say that
that's deep.
All of that, right? I think the only reasonable, unverifiable claim is that Donald Trump is pro-prostitution, because how can that many women think that that's where they want to go unless they're getting paid? I'm not trying to suggest that Donald Trump's ex-wives. Right, I'm not right. I'm saying something different. I'm not trying to suggest that Donald Trump's ex-wives are all just prostitutes. But did he pay them? I'm just saying, I'm not a member of the Legit Bigota, but I don't think Donald Trump is that attractive of a man that can pull the way that he's pulling. So I don't know.
You don't have to be attractive to pull hotties. I mean,
clearly,
there is a dollar amount where it's like,
especially not if they're being trafficked.
And I know for a fact men play this game. Okay, I know for a fact you guys play the how much to tap it. How much? Like $1,000. Okay, $2,000. 2,500.
Just make her laugh.
Right.
Right. Easier.
I know you guys play this game too, and women just do it live. We don't play.
Well, listen, I pray for our boy Shannon Sharp, but they're just kind of. I understand what you're throwing down, where it's rich men can kind of just pay their way into the life that they want to have, and then we all just kind of have to watch and think I can do that too. When I say we, it's just dudes. There's no girl on the planet that's looking at a guy and saying, I think I can buy him out. I think I can. That man has a price. Because I think, again, that's I'm riffing, by the way, just to kind of do a side tangent, but I don't think that there's any man in the world that if a woman came up to them and said, I'll pay you $2,500, all you have to do is just kind of unconditionally have sex with me and maybe you get to stay home and don't have to work. I think most men would be like, no.
Are you kidding me?
But some dudes might.
I'm fantasizing about it right now.
It's called a sugar mama. Okay, us cougars know how to take care of our cubs. All right. So, question. Here's what I wanted to ask.
Anyway, I digress. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It was a good little tangent. At least we know that nobody on here likes Trump except for that's in my world, right? We're all.
Well, wait, Joe. I just wanted to clarify real quick. When you said the women are doing it for a reason, you mean you're not talking about the trafficked children. You're talking about the grown women that have married him, correct?
Yes. That's what I'm trying to throw down.
I just wanted to, because there was someone in my chat that was like, "These are minors," and I was like, I don't.
No, Ivanka is quite the not. If I say there's somebody who is so far from being a minor, it's probably Ivanka Trump. She's very far removed from her minor status.
Are you talking about Melania? Ivanka's his daughter. I know he wants to.
Melania, I don't know these women.
I think as well.
To be clear, he did meet and have sex with Melania for the first time on the Lolita Express, allegedly. So she also might have been a minor at the time of them getting married.
Oh God.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is that the outrage is to distract from the Epstein stuff.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's a wild ride to get from point A to point B. Question: If in this this American Eagle ad, if it was an Asian girl, a Black girl, a Mexican girl, a Jewish girl, I don't know, like a transgender girl doing exactly the same thing, saying exactly the same lines, no difference except it's just a completely different looking girl. Would we all be saying the same? Would we even be having this conversation?
No.
Well,
if it was a white brunette, I probably wouldn't be saying the same thing. I would still think it's a dumb commercial. I'd be like, this just wasn't very clever in my opinion. But I think it is, again, it is just because the I feel like this. Yes, it's the optics, and it's just the very strong association between blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin with Yahtzee stuff.
Eugenics.
With eugenics. So when you start talking about genes, and you're talking about the perfect genes that someone who is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white has, then it's like, and she's referencing her hair and her eyes.
Did she say perfect genes though? I mean, I remember she said you get your genes from your mom and dad, and then is that what she said?
Narrator says
good genes. Good
Sydney
genes.
Sweeney has great genes.
Great, yeah.
Right.
And to be clear, like this is definitely like a perfect storm, right? Because if they had like gone out of their way to find like a Aryan poster girl propaganda person that was like a D-list celebrity, then it would be like, okay, this is a little weird, right? Like some no name. It's like this is very explicit. But it's Sydney Sweeney. She's my Pedro Pascal. I'm like, I'm tired of seeing her and everything. And they know she's in everything. She's a hot item right now, and that's why they threw her in here. It's probably just like, hey, what are they? They're making her sell like dumb shit now. It's like probably Carl's Jr. We're going back to like if you buy our burger, this woman will have sex with you, right? Like this is just a marketing tactic. But
doesn't work, by the way.
Sydney Sweeney just happened to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, which is why we're talking about it now. Why anyone freaked out about it?
She's a brunette naturally, isn't she?
I saw your chat kind of talking about that. To clarify a little bit of that, there's a particular set of imagery of a character that Sydney Sweeney played in Euphoria, and she hasn't quite moved beyond that imagery of that character, which is a blonde-haired and kind of like blonde hybrid, right? Where it's like they start like younger blonde and slowly transitioning from a more brunette look. But even with that, right? Like even if we do a 1-for-1 swap, the critiques would just be different. The meaning would just shift to be something else. And there would still be
kind of racist against white girls.
Like, in what way? What do you mean?
Like, just because she did it, now we're mad because she's the one that did it. I mean, not her individually, but a white girl did it.
Well,
right?
Sarah, to be clear, if a black girl did it, Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all them would have a fucking aneurysm and say like this is anti-white propaganda. So we wouldn't be talking about it for the same reason, but we would still be talking about it because they would be having a fucking bitch fit. So
yeah, it would just be pointing and like trying. When I say pointing to different things, an ad is like saying a particular thing with that, and I don't think that. I mean, listen, I'm all for it because something that I think is very interesting is that people have different types of identity-based reactions to advertisements, because even within the ad itself, like we know that a different actor or actress would have a different response. If that was Megan Thee Stallion, you'd have a different response. If it was Lizzo, you would absolutely have a different response. Or even someone in drag saying that, there'd be a different response. That's not to say that one response to it is legitimate, but it's just that to say that, if the identity switched, it would be pointing to different things, and the ad itself in its core would be saying something else. You can clearly still take the camp of like, it's just an ad, who cares? But that idea of this is an ad, who cares, is also in these other different types of reactions.
But even in even with that being said, like I look at it as she is the market for what they're looking for, right? Your typical teenage girls and who they look up to, right? That's the influencer for who their target market is. So for instance, if I run a Nike ad, I'm not going to get Lizzo to be in my Nike ad because that's probably not my target market. Right. So
Lizzo lost a lot of weight. So actually, I wouldn't be
working out like crazy.
She's not an athlete, right? I would go for a basketball player, football player. I would go for somebody that is an athlete of whom is working towards. This is why all of the sports places get golfers and basketball players for their sponsorships. So like I look at who's going to look up. My target market and who they're looking up to. That's who I want to get, right? So if Sydney Sweeney is the hot commodity right now, then naturally I know all of the teenage girls because we already established that's the market age range for American Eagle. That's the target market range, and I want to attract them. So therefore, I'm going to get the person that they look up to. If Lizzo happened to be that person, it would have been her. If Candace Owens was that person. I would have gotten that person, right? Like I would have gone all in different directions.
Can we just say that ad would throw way? It would. I wish. Listen, Candace Owens. Damn, they missed an opportunity. That ad would have gone crazy.
Gotta have some pearls to clutch for that one.
Yeah, it would be. Listen, it would be like I'm one. I used to listen. There was a time when I was younger that I was one of these pearl clutching liberals, and now I'm a chaotic fuck. So I gladly invite that type of controversy. That's why even you probably missed this, but Billie Eilish said in public in Ireland that she was so happy to be playing in front. I forget the exact wording of it.
A bunch of people that look like
her. Yeah, a bunch of people that look like her. And everyone just kind of like, huh?
Which was just such a weird thing. But also, okay, I want to tie this into, there was another commercial that a Dunkin' Donuts commercial that had some guy, I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is what people think is hot now, but it's some dude who has like a white guy, tan, has the broccoli haircut. And he talks about how he says, okay.
He says, this tan is because of my good genes.
This tan genetics. Like, I guess not to go too off topic, but I feel like we're also entering an era where kind of like selecting offspring based on genes is becoming kind of very, it's like something we can maybe kind of do now. And I'm against that because I do think that we are actively fucking with our evolution as a species. There are genes that might be undesirable on the surface, but I feel could at some point in the future be desirable, be useful at some point. There's just this weird thread of like Victorian era race science coming back, and I don't know if I like that we're thinking about who has good genes or not.
Well, okay. I know what you're getting.
Can I validate something before we get? Can I validate something that Sarah said? Can I validate something you said, Sarah? I want to agree, just because you kind of said it and then I derailed it. I do agree that media wants certain celebrities and people to point to. So for teenagers, they want to have somebody that like they can point to as an individual. Like for a lot of men, for a while, that was Hulk Hogan, and then that transitioned to being, like it or not, it was Hulk. It was the Hulkster, and then that pointed to when it comes to women, for instance, like Sasha Banks was a very significant figure if we're saying in that sort of wrestling vein. And then there's also what's that woman's name? I just know her as Muscle Mommy. My girlfriend watches wrestling. I don't, but I just know her as this Muscle Mommy. Your chat might know who I'm talking about. But
yes, no, it's not Rita. What is it?
Rhea Ripley? Yeah. And like, so you have different type of like figures that you want to say like, hey, this is who you want to aspire to be. And I would agree that Sydney Sweeney for teenage girls is like, at least AE is trying to do this, that they're trying to point that like this is sort of like who you want to aspire to be, or someone you want to consider as a role model. And that can drive sales of products, or even drive the idea that American Eagle is something that you ought to buy or ought to pursue. Well, anyway, you want to get to race science and stuff, or eugenics?
Yeah, on the topic of genetics, I do want to push back a little bit on you, Charlie, because the idea of like saying I have good genes, or like judging people or selecting based on the genes. I mean, first of all, we do it all the time when we're like, hey, that person's hot and I want to have sex with them.
You took my whole fucking point.
But second of all, well, hold on, let me take more of your points. The amount of time that I hear specifically Asian and Black people say, oh, it's my good genes, that's why I'm aging so well, which is a totally acceptable statement, I think is fine. And the fact that lots of people talk about, oh yeah, I've got good genetics, like that's a very common term in the zeitgeist. And so that's why I think more than likely the ad agency is not like, how can we drop some Nazi eugenics into our ad and trigger people? It's just like, oh yeah, let's say genes. That's a pun. Talk about genes. Done. I think that's probably where the conversation ended, because these people are not that smart. You ever watch Mad Men? They come up with the stupidest fucking ideas.
Well, you did also say it was kind of like a redo of an older
Exactly.
commercial that they
and that
already
probably
had.
wasn't Nazi science. That was just pedophilia or ebophilia for the libertarians.
So,
Well, I
so
think-
I to answer the question of like what would it if it was someone else, right? If it was anyone else or someone who looked different, I think is the interesting question. Like we might still be having a conversation, but we'd be having a fundamentally different conversation if it wasn't a white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair and it's the combination of all of these things, and like which is why I opened with like those two key points, like acknowledging that like these are like core things to like that ideology, right? They're so central to it, and so it really strains credulity to me to imagine that no one on the marketing team at any point in the production of this realized like we're kind of doing a little trifecta here.
Have you met media relations people?
I just don't buy it, you know?
Hold on. But that in and of itself means that every single white person out there who has blonde hair and blue eyes now has to be careful with how they operate or say things they say or do in an instance, because somebody might say, well, you're white and that sounded like propaganda, therefore Yahtzee.
Well,
right?
no.
Wait, I'm not even. Wait, yes,
that's a good point. No, Sarah's right. Sarah's right. That's a good point. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people should be a little more careful talking about having superior genes, just because of the historical.
Maybe they should. Yeah.
In the same way, you know,
is that so bad?
It's just like, look, you got to look at the historical context for so many things, right? Like, you know, I've seen little kids and they're like, oh, Ibrahimovic, or my favorite soccer player is black, and like this Romanian kid will like do blackface, and it's like, okay, like you don't understand the history of Jim Crow, but that's a thing that happened, and like you have to think about these things and your status of these things and your audience when you participate in this. So yeah, maybe you do have great genes, maybe you're a beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed person, but depending on how you brag about that, like you're probably going to get some very deserved backlash. I think you should be careful about that. That doesn't mean you can't be into that at the very least. The language is important.
But
I agree. I agree with what Sarah's trying to throw down here. Not to cut you off again. I'm so
go ahead. I like that you're agreeing with me. At least you're validating me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm about to be a permanent guest soon. About to replace somebody. Like, so here's what I'll agree with, right? Here's what I'll agree with. There is something to say about how when we have deeper conversations about like just social structures and shit, that it gets mixed up into those type of ideas where it's like, oh, if I am white-haired, white, blonde, and blue-eyed, then I'm automatically a problem in society, and I ought to check and like self-monitor and self-regulate and censor my expression. That's a legitimate sentiment. But I think the problem is that's not enough, because what I see is that it's not only a matter of you fitting into that box of visibility. So I say visibility, like what you look like, but also having the correct ideas, beliefs, and like sort of performative aesthetic. The way I think about it is kind of like we live in a society where there's this dress code. And we all know the dress code exists, but we get reminded that we're not dressing appropriately. So society kind of says, well, not like that. Not like that. Not like that. That's a little closer. Okay, you're fine. And then someone like Charlie would go, well, why am I fine? And there's no like feedback loop of like explaining what they changed about themselves that's now tolerable in society in such a way that's like, you're never told. What I'm trying to say is like, you're never told what this is, like what the acceptable thing is, but it's based on how people respond to you. Because if somebody with blonde hair, blue eyes, and I guess apparently blue, because your chat had like a little back and forth about how Sydney Sweeney has green eyes, actually. Well, weird thing to clarify.
I have green eyes too, but most people think they're blue. So I'm gonna roll with that. Me and Sydney, we're one of the same.
So I say that.
One other difference.
Yeah, like I'm almost on. I'll land it. I promise.
No, go ahead, Joe,
I promise you, I'll land it. Yeah. So like the point is that like what happens is you don't only need to present in a way that's accepted in society. You also have to have the beliefs, the ideology, the different types of like connection to tradition, because then you're completely sort of like, I won't say normal, but just like someone who's not going to be reminded that you don't belong, for example.
So can I, this is anecdotal, but I am primarily of German descent. My last name is very German. My grandfather grew up in a town that spoke German and
how do you
English
spell your last
in
name?
the Middle East.
Stop it! Don't do that.
You know how to spell my last name. But like growing up, when people would read my last name, because I grew up in California, I would get like a lot of Yahtzee jokes. All right, I'd get a lot of Yahtzee jokes, which kind of bothered me when I was little. But then I was like, I don't care. But I also, like when my papa said to me, you should marry someone with a good German last name. You don't want to lose your good German last name. I'm sure
You mean
he
your
didn't mean
papa?
that in a. No, I call him my papa.
Your papa? Okay, make it sure.
Yeah.
Are you saying it like German? Is that? This doesn't work when it's a cognate.
Yeah.
I just know there's this German Shepherd dog on TikTok, and he says "papa." So I don't know if that's a connection, but I'm just messing.
No,
with
this
it.
isn't my dad. This is my grandfather. When he said that, I'm sure my papa didn't mean like only marry white German people who are not of Jewish descent. He didn't mean that, because he doesn't care who I date. He just wanted me to keep my last name, but I had to be like, Papa, you can't say that at a restaurant in public, please, because that's awkward, So I think like sometimes, you might belong to a culture or an ethnic group where maybe your ancestors did some crazy things, and then you just got to kind of make sure you don't say things that make you look crazy because of that.
Sarah,
to that point, please. I've been holding it for a minute. What we are talking about, we're talking about a very large corporation with a very large marketing team, with a very with a very established actress. We're not talking about some like random girl at a bar like doing tequila shots with her friends who says something says about her great genes or whatever, and someone overhears it. Like there's a lot more orchestration into this thing. So like we can talk about how people should be a little bit more conscious, and it'd be nice if people were a little bit more conscious about this kind of stuff, but like it's a totally separate discussion, I think, from like a corporate entity. Like there's just so much oversight into releasing something like this. And
Ryan, I gotta push back on that. I don't know where you've worked, or like if you know the internals of some of these bigger companies, but like you'd be surprised, first of all, how fucking stupid all these people are. Second of all, like how one guy will do it and how checked out everyone else is. And I was like, yeah, fucking whatever. Or even like what I've been allowed to release like as PR for like Congress people, or like pretty big companies, or like what's companies that will advertise on YouTube channels will let you get away with. I don't think that it was like, 100 people all watch this ad and all of them were like, yeah, it's a little Nazi coded, but you know what we're trying to do. Like that's possible. Don't get me wrong. But this was not like, how could they all miss this? Trust me, they put out a lot of stupid shit. I don't know if you watch much ads anymore. Streaming doesn't really have ads, but like TV used to, but there's a lot of stupid fucking ads that get misconstrued all the time. And this isn't like a Japan, like, oh, we put a black guy in the washing machine and he came out, Japanese sort of like racism. This is like the most subtle, like, am I tuned into the zeitgeist of the rise of fascism, but not in the mainstream, but because I'm on the internet all the time and I can read between the lines of what Stephen Miller and Donald Trump are saying. So I don't think this was necessarily on purpose.
Going back to Trump.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
can I ask a question?
Zeitgeist is impacted by that, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you guys think, I'm going to make a claim, because this is kind of what I believe. I just kind of see where y'all land at. I don't think most people react emotionally to these type of representational things. So to explain this a bit more clearly, I don't think most people, I won't say everybody, but most people actually care about anything we're talking about.
No, I don't think the average person cares at all.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I'm not like talking about like seeing yourself, or like, what do you mean?
I don't think any of us are like particularly offended by it.
It's just something to talk about.
Sure.
Nobody actually cares, right? Okay, and I kind of wanted to hike it back to a little bit, because if anybody is focused and honing in, like who the fuck sits there and says like, I saw this commercial and it hurt my feelings, right?
Well, that
just kind of.
Well, I know those people. They're insecure. Like I'm gonna be a little harsh here, but there are some people, whether them be white, black, what have you, that are very sensitive about their identity. And they might see a certain type of coding and respond aggressively is the only word I can think of right now. And I don't think that those people are exactly serious people. Because I think for most of us, right? Like for me, I noticed these like codings in the Sydney Sweeney ad, but it kind of, that's just like where it starts and ends for me. I'm not going to go write some Substack article about the rise of white supremacy and fascism. Like I'm not gonna have some, my coder might, but like, I think for most people, like my personal is that like, yeah, like recognize that coding exists. I don't think it's reasonable to have it like emotionally affect you, but there are people who do. And I think what sucks is that those are the people who get the most likes, the most retweets, the most eyeballs. And then they're kind of painted as this representation of what people actually think. And then this is what actually these type of folks actually believe. And this can be done either way. This can be done towards white people and their response to this ad. It can be done toward non-white people and their response to this ad. There's like an amplification of extremes when in reality, I think a lot of people are in like a sort of two simple camps. Like, I recognize this exists. I don't really care. I don't see this. I don't care. And different variations of that, you know?
Well,
Just
well,
a quick
I
thing
feel like
piggybacking
this-
up. Yeah.
I
go ahead,
wanted
Charlie.
to poke into that. The coding, you said these people see this coding and they just take it a certain specific way and you know, run with it. But you had already kind of started that by saying most of these people are insecure, they have identity issues, so on and so forth. Is the coding, and that's I kind of brought this up earlier. Is it projected? Because like, how many people
Absolutely.
who don't have so is the coding built in on the American Eagle end, or is the coding built into the person who is perceiving it that way? That's like
that was
and I would
my
say
argument
it
from
as
the
a
beginning, Sarah. Is
Sure.
like people
yeah,
are primed
victim
for this,
coding.
right?
Yeah.
People are seeing legitimate rise of Nazi rhetoric. I don't know if you've been on Twitter in the last 2 years, but it's absolutely everywhere. We're getting all the anti-immigration sentiment. There's like, hey, kick out the legal ones, like the white genocide narrative is on the rise. So people are primed to think of this. So even if this was completely innocuous, which I think is most likely, people are ready to look for these things. And it's not an insecurity thing. It's a very legitimate response to the rise of white nationalism in our country, unfortunately.
Great. Like, I want to make something kind of clear here. And this might get your audience excited, me saying this, but you know, like racial hatred isn't rational. It's not logical. It's not attached to anything. It's only logical and rational because it's happening to you. And I'm not going to say don't take that shit personally. Like if something's happening to you, then yeah, you take that shit personally. But at the end of the day, it's not about like, at least in my eyes, like hating people because they're white or hating people because they're black. Like we're kind of we're exposed to these different stimuli and these different ideas and stuff. And then it leads you kind of down that path. Like people, there is a legitimate concern that like there are people who will see this ad and say like, well, this is why you don't date white women. And there's a sea of those people online, a whole oceans of I call them Umar sexuals, where they just kind of just date within their own race. They don't nothing else within that. And then like, because that was my exposure to this, by the way, Sarah. I was busy watching the swirlers and the Umar sexuals fighting with each other. Swirlers are people who support interracial dating. Umar sexuals are those who just don't support interracial dating, and they're just fighting online over Sydney Sweeney. And I'm like, there are like grow up, both of you.
Wait, are both of these like derogatory slurs? Are you the centrist, sometimes interracial marriage is bad position, or are they both sound bad? Swirler and Umars or whatever.
I don't necessarily take that much stock. I don't take stock in who people date and are in relationships with, but I do think there are pieces of content that I recognize like, oh, this is going to upset people. And it's usually those corners of the internet for me. Like a callback to this is like when the one that was I really enjoyed was when Zoe Kravitz played Catwoman in the Batman. And then those corners of the internet were just arguing with each other over that. And it's like different manifestations of that. I don't take stock in it. I just laugh at it because I think it's funny as fuck.
I disagree with her casting in that because no one should ever be with a British person. So,
damn.
So Do we think it's logical? I mean, Soy, you're trying to kind of ground it in the idea that these people are primed for it because of other recent propagandas and things that are kind of
the
in our
very
face
real and
going
dangerous
on.
rise of anti anyone but white fascism in our country, that it was really what we should be talking about, how this insane ICE raids and all the other horrible things that are happening in the country. This is being used as a platform to distract from the fact that all these horrible things are coming. And the reason it's being talked about at all, just why people are getting mad, are because of all those horrible things. If this was like 2005, I bet no one, not even the lefties, would give a shit. This is because of the recent stuff.
Totally agree. And I want to add to that. I was going to point to the other side of the coin, the people who are primed to be sensitive about hearing it, but also people who are primed to be emboldened by it, by this sort of, which is why I'm still, and like in my opening, I outlined very clearly, I don't necessarily, like, my answer is yes, it's Nazi propaganda, regardless of whether or not it was intentional, because of the ecosystem, like the environment we're in right now, and because of the emboldening of people who are seeing this. They again, like the people who are primed to enjoy this whole aesthetic and to be stoked about like these blonde white Aryan genes being celebrated and being brought to the forefront. Those people are further emboldened also by what's going on in the country right now, like, and it's very scary.
Ryan, how many times have you seen the "we're so back" because of these ads? It's like, oh, we used to have black people in ads, but we're so back, guys. Sydney Sweeney's our girl, you know,
But
like that's
To
absolutely
be fair, though, isn't the emboldening exist too on the, we'll just say broadly, the left end as well? Because listen, I'm done with these racialized think pieces, man. I'm so done. Like, I come from this position of just exhausted, where like, yeah, okay, American Eagle did this weird kind of like coded language around genes and genes. It's a play on words, but I don't think it deserves that much attention. It's a nice aside. It's a nice like aside that we can discourse about that for a little bit. But I do think that there is something legitimate to say that like the same type of emboldening of like excitement can also be the same emboldening of outrage, like the same emboldening of like, this is completely unacceptable. We need to take certain steps to decommodify the clothes, like that type of shit.
Yeah, no, Joe, you're 100% right. It's the same reason why like all those dumb articles that were like, oh, milk and math are racist, like that might have been based in some like very legitimate thing. Like even the Pete Buttigieg was like, highways are racist, and everyone's like, ah ha ha, look at the left. But you look at like what he was actually saying. It's like, yeah, highways were built in ways to discriminate against black neighborhoods. But the problem is the messaging does embolden people who are able to point at us and say, look how dumb you are. Which is why I think as soon as Sarah hopefully soon invites all of her crazy audience on, I'm going to be talking about how bad Trump is and the reason why they're using this to distract from him. So, because those things are more.
I'm not sure if the comparison is going to work, but kind of the reaction on both like far right white supremacist side of the internet and then also the very far left side of the internet reminds me of what happens every time a video game is released ever, where depending upon the type of character is released, there is some sort of moral outrage, you know, like the right. It will be like, this lady wasn't sexy enough. What the fuck? We're so angry. This
my
is the end of
titties got smaller in my favorite video game.
Or like maybe someone will make a game. I don't remember what the game was called, but it was a game where you played as like, the man based the model off of his wife. You played as this like really sexy lady wearing sexy, cool clothes. Stellar Blade, yeah. And like, they were like, this is it. Yes, woke is dead. Just like frothing at the mouth over Stellar Blade, which wasn't a big deal. It was a decent game from what I've heard. And the main character looked really good in her clothes. But again, it's like, this is stuff that only really heavily bothers people who I'm not sure are having much of an impact on our society.
Yeah, like that's why even I'm gonna be a bit more direct here. That's why, like, when I heard, God, there was a never-ending supply of these, where there are people like, I'm so excited that Ariel is now black because now I can see myself in her, and I'm like, shut the fuck up and go outside and have some friends. Like, I've never once Like
Joe,
I hate
imagine you
those.
saying that to like a 10-year-old black girl because
I would absolutely say that to a 10-year-old black girl. I don't give a fuck. Shut the fuck up. It's a movie. Get over yourselves. Like, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to like identity insecurity. Like, because that's rampant. But again, there's reasons for that. And I don't want to get into like the reasons why I think that exists. But it is something that I notice time and time again, where in reality it's like nobody gives a shit except for you, because you are insecure about your racial identity, your sexual orientation, your whatever identity that you ascribe yourself to. And there's some level of insecurity that you got to work through. And then maybe you won't be an intolerable piece of shit. Like the amount of people who I saw, some of which were some of my mutuals, and I was like, y'all are ridiculous. Where they were so relieved that there wasn't a hip hop beat under Mr. Terrific's fight scene in Superman. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, there's no, like, you mean you were sitting there watching Superman and then you're like, wow, I'm so happy there wasn't a hip hop beat. And then when like I go, yeah, like, shut the fuck up, nobody cares. They go, well, actually, his history is shown time and time again. When the Negro fights, there's always the hippity hop. It's like, nobody gives a shit. We're just watching a movie. Let me enjoy my fantasy.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get when people are like, hey, the only representation of me is always the exact same thing. And I like that this person deviated a little bit so that people don't have stereotypes about me. But sorry for white splaining that one.
Sorry. No, you're good. It's whatever. But it's like, I mean, the same notion, like there's a lot of people who go, it's a jeans ad, nobody cares. And I'm inclined to agree with them in that regard, where I don't think that there needs to be that much discourse and discussion. I invite it. I think it's a good thing to be able to talk about media and how media plays a role in how we engage with people. But I don't think this is something that necessarily dedicates like a week or 2 weeks rather. But go ahead.
Sorry, my bad. My volume cut out for a second and I thought you had finished your statement. I do want to actually amend the statement that I made. I forgot about Gamergate and the impacts of Gamergate. So maybe it does kind of matter a little bit.
Yeah, these people probably got Trump elected in 2016, to be clear.
Yeah. I forgot.
The Gamergate, like, oh, the left is too woke. I'm going to vote for the outside establishment guy who's pushing back against wokeness. Like that was
no shot in hell. No shot in hell.
You don't think Gamergate was a huge influence on the 2016?
I think Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate, and Democrats have to stop handpicking their individuals without engaging with the public at all. Nobody wanted Hillary Clinton. Nobody really wanted Obama either, if we really want to be honest with ourselves. Nobody really wanted Kamala Harris. We just get handpicked, and
more people wanted Hillary than wanted Trump in 2016.
Yeah, and that's why. And that's
listen, objectively, that's why she won the popular vote. Yeah,
she won the popular vote, but it doesn't matter about the popular vote. Doesn't matter. Like,
obviously,
but it doesn't matter how popular. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much popularity you manufacture so that you get the person to vote for. You have to be strategic about it. And it's like, instead of being strategic of like, hey, let's strategic. The
reason Trump won. I'm just saying that Gamergate. I know a fair amount of people who said the SJWs forced my hand. I had to vote for Trump.
Yeah, and like all five of them
I don't want to say it was
never showered.
Like, Gamergate was a genre. Gamergate was a genre starter, and it was an entire media ecosystem that was Gamergate coded, and there was all this anti-SJW, this very like the left has gone too far, like all this stuff. Yeah, I know. I love it here. But it was, and it was also like super well funded by like the Koch brothers and all this shit, like who funded all of the like the
Daily Wire and the
Daily Wire, who were bringing on all the same people to talk about who were radicalizing all these people, normalizing all this stuff. They had people like Stefan Molyneux on talking about brain sizes, and like this was all like hyper normalized during this time.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I guess my pushback is, it kind of starts and stops there. It doesn't lead to any type of actual political action that ought to be of concern. Where like all of those Gamergate people are still, the math is on my side. They're not going to vote anyway. Like there's the people who vote overwhelmingly, it seems to be, are just older generations of people. So unless we get some Gamergate where the old people get really upset and want to resurrect Charlie Chaplin and go back to the old days of black and white and shit, like overall, I think we're pretty okay. But I will agree that
Yeah. I think you're ignoring and kind of brushing aside the millions of people of an audience that these people have and an influence of an age ranges of primarily 20 to 35-year-olds, but also a lot of people 40 to 65 who watch these shows. Specifically, Shapiro, Walsh. Walsh is a little more recent, not in like the 2016, but these people had a pretty huge influence and were definitely riding the coattails of the Gamergate movement. Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough though. I still I'm not convinced that it's enough. That's my push.
It was a pretty close election.
Ryan, did you get laid?
What? Oh, the beats. I was so confused about that.
All right, here's what I want to do. We can get it's fine if we move into the Trump conversation once we open the panel up.
Sure.
I wanted to, if we can, let's hinge it on that MAGA propaganda and why the Sweeney thing's even happening. That way we stay kind of in the realm. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat. Somebody keeps saying that Andrew wants to join. If somebody can go let him know, the panel is pinned. It's in the chat now. It's ready. And while everybody hops backstage, I'm going to go ahead and run through the donos real quick. And you guys feel free to respond as needed. But another big shout out to Jess Gerald again with the big hundo. We love you very much. Mr. Bill says I'm going to go those genes if they are all say what the fuck? Propaganda. American Eagle can thank the left for making them rich. I think that's fair.
Oh, he's saying I'm going to go buy them if the left calls them Nazis because I want
target
to
audience
counter
of
it.
this.
Yeah,
this is the guy.
This is the guy
that
the one. Oh wait, I know this person. Wait, hold on. I know. I actually was. Listen, I don't know. Shout out to Wick. Hi, Mr. Bill. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are still having difficulty getting potato chips out of your opening the bag. I have that meme or that GIF. It's amazing. I know he's a Wicker. So shout out to Wick's community.
Shout out to Wick. It's his birthday.
And happy birthday, Wick.
Happy birthday, Wick.
I should message him.
That's fair. That's fair. Thumping Weevil made her appearance on the screen the other night. Such a joy to have. I hope she makes her way back another night. It's a pun. Don't take it to heart. Jeans/jeans. Get it? Yeah.
That's probably what the marketing team started and stuff.
Everyone gets the pun.
I mean,
nobody's debating whether or not it was a pun.
But I feel like, what is that game that you play with the cards?
Taboo. Taboo.
Cards Against Humanity?
Cards Against Humanity. You can say the most effed up stuff in that, and it gets dirty and racial and sexist. And but everybody laughs, don't they? Everybody sits there and fucking laughs, and you find out who the weak ones are when they don't, right? That's a quick way to find out who's triggered by any and everything by that game alone. And I feel like this is almost like just playing that game. That's all that is. All right. What?
I don't like that take, but we can move on.
The Cards Against Humanity?
No, I mean, I agree with you about Cards Against Humanity being a game where you make very edgy jokes. I don't agree that this is that's what's happening here.
I'm gonna weed out Ryan, we have to weed out the weak consumers by putting a Nazi in every ad. Just to make sure.
What I'm saying is it wasn't even meant to be that way. No, right? It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be racy or like an on the edge kind of joke or anything like that. But the fact that people are getting upset by it, it's like, my God, if you were playing Cards Against Humanity, you wouldn't make it.
Well, just to be clear, I usually win Cards Against Humanity because I'm hilarious, just for what it's worth. But I'm not offended. I don't think anybody on this panel is offended by it. Nobody here.
I don't think so either.
And I think most of the people I've seen discussing this, there's a few people who say it's silly. There was a couple videos I saw, TikToks of people who were like pretty appalled, and some people were kind of emotional, but almost no one's been how dare they? It's more analytical.
Read the room, it's hey, read the room, guys. Look
exactly.
What you're
doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying mostly too.
Yeah. Okay, and Evan says, I like slightly erotic ads and are happy to see them come back. Miss Sarah, could you please play the horse video with the blonde hair? Yes, we do have that one. I will drop that in during open panel. I'll drop it in just for you, Evan. Grid says with a big 20, tell you what I noticed. Sydney is smoking hot. 90% of the wokies bitching about this are the best leftover dog water. Also, Kissy Cat says Sydney has mid face and great tits. So there's that. All right. I mean, does anybody think she's not? I mean,
she's not my type. Look, I knew a lot of Sydney Sweeney looking people at my high school, and they were not exactly the top tier women. But she's got a good body. I don't think she's
Sydney Sweeney looking women is crazy.
A little bit.
Now there's like a type, like we would put it by.
I mean, she's like a blonde with big boobies. I think that's a type. I think
listen, okay,
it's a right wing type for sure.
I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of women with the Sydneys.
And they all have big blonde tittied wives. Like that's a thing. Like you can see the Republican wife is like a look.
That's fair.
But she's fine. I don't know. Yeah.
Mr. Bill says, Sarah, for context, please Google the people that American Eagle sponsor. Pretty diverse, in my opinion. Actually, because I did look into the company, but because Soy Pill had already kind of laid the groundwork of like, there's a bunch of Jewish guys that did this and yada yada yada.
American Eagle. It's not
highly doubt. Yeah. But for context, yes, I'll throw it out there. When I looked at all of the stuff that they sponsor, it's like they're really big into Special Olympics. They had the whole LGBTQ sponsorship. There was like a lot of all over the place. The Airy branch is very into sponsoring girls, and helping them do stuff. So it's very incredibly very diverse. So I'm
not sure what that's trying to say, I guess.
Diversity.
That they're not trying to push Nazi propaganda. At worst, if Ryan's theory is correct, they were like, let's play on this controversy that we don't agree with the propaganda, but we're going to use it to spin up some stupid thing and raise their stock prices. Like they're probably not explicitly far right, like nationalists.
Also, Sydney Sweeney is apparently very upset about all this. She was crying on her Instagram live.
Well, white women get upset at everything, Charlie.
Sydney Sweeney tears.
Sydney, I will comfort you, Sydney.
I would be upset. I would be upset in her position if people were accusing me of participating in this, or if really crazy white supremacists were like, "Yes, you're our girl." I'd be like, "Oh no."
100%.
That's fair.
She'll be fine. She's rich.
Yeah, should be all right. KTC on Truckin' says Sydney should be on Sarah's horse video, please. Yeah, well, how do you know it's not her? And a vibe says, "Go girl, go with those sexy jeans. Did you wear jeans for this too?" I almost thought about putting on my jean jacket just for shits and giggles, but I was like, I'll get too hot with all the lights down here and everything. Pass says, it's been longer. Much love, Sarah. Here's to your continued growth and success. If you ever need me, you know how to reach me. Yes, I do, Pass. You the best. American Eagle ad didn't go viral until liberals had something to say about it. They knew what they were doing.
That's bullshit. Like, we understand, like, I think there's some
viral.
Yeah, most media, most ads go viral. Especially on a company like American Eagle, and especially considering it's Sydney Sweeney. You're trying to say that like the liberals were mad, but at the same time, it's Sydney Sweeney. She is one of the 8 girls in sort of like American media right now. So to say that like only liberals got mad about it and only saw it because of her, no, like there are people who genuinely like Sydney Sweeney and watch that ad because they like Sydney Sweeney. And that's not even the ad that like made it, from my understanding. The actual ad is like the ones where she's talking about her ass and shit. That's like the one that I even when I was first initially doing a quick double check, that was the one that I saw first.
No, absolutely. There's 2 different ads. And second of all, if you go on YouTube right now and you search like Sydney Sweeney jeans, whatever, you'll find the actual ad. And then the next top video, at least when I did it, it was not some lefty complaining about it. It's a compilation video from some right-wing channel that made like all these videos of every left-winger even mentioning it. Right?
I saw Doja Cat making, because listen, if you ever have seen a Doja Cat live, they are magical experiences. I saw that woman snort coke on TikTok. It's crazy. And then act like she did.
Doja's something else.
Yeah, she's something else. But like she was making that joke of like that ad, and I saw a bunch of other accounts making fun of it. I was like, what are they talking about? Like, and like they all have like the blue eye filter. And then that was how like I stumbled upon like, oh, this is real. Like this wasn't a, but anyway,
Yeah. Trib says, is the goal of pushing hot white women from the right a pushback against the left being anti-fat shaming, or is it something deeper, y'all think?
I don't think it's on purpose, but it's capitalizing off of the, oh, I'm tired of seeing these people in my ads. It got too woke. So anytime there's a skinnier white person in an ad, every single right winger on the terminally online right is like, oh, look, we're back. Look, we're no more woke ads anymore. Like, it's ridiculous. But like, you know, this is the same people that Joe was saying are stupid. It's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, you can't fucking buy Target clothes because there's a black lady selling them. Like, grow the fuck up and buy your clothes.
Fair enough. To Andy Matter backstage. I can't see your face. You got to move. There's something in the way. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. All right. Even if Trump didn't physically grape minors, his fight to hide the files means he at least mentally raped minors. Either way, it's sick. El Trump, El MAGA.
But to be clear, he did physically rape minors. Just to be
what
clear.
What is mentally? How do you mentally?
I think he means like he spiritually does it because he's defending them.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a messy comment, but those $5 better be going to something good.
I'm just gonna buy me a
the Alan
beer for that
Dershowitz
one.
Defend Trump Fund.
Harry Ludwig saying, Ryan, Charlie, Sarah, tomatoes. Hi, Harry. Panel, how would you feel if Sarah did the American Eagle commercial?
I feel like that would be Nazi propaganda, Sarah. Don't do it.
I would feel the same. The same because of the aesthetics that I've talked about here. Like
I would be happy that you got your bag, but I would also be like, Sarah, come on.
Also, for the record, Sarah, you had a panel like a week ago that was a debate. You moderated a debate like a week ago that was, is the United States National Socialist? So you are like, in fact, I would be more suspicious if you were in.
And all of their claims were terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah, well, Teriyaki's a moron.
But came to the table with that prompt, and I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yes, it is 100%." And I'm like, "Nobody's gonna agree with you." Okay. He had to find somebody who had to take his side, even though they didn't agree with his side, just to find. I couldn't find anybody to take that position. So, no. 2.1 million OnlyFans creators, 86 million OnlyFans subs, 165 million men in the U.S. Men, it's up to you to stop paying.
He's an anti-gooner activist, and I can say I'm pro-gooning everyone. Why
is he talking about OnlyFans? Where did
I don't know. I mean, like,
it's always on his mind.
I think we were talking about sexualizing females at some point. I don't know.
Oh, I see. So the 86 million OF subs are all men. Is that the claim?
From America, evidently.
I don't know.
Well, OnlyFans isn't only the sex stuff, right? Like
absolutely.
They expanded to even just like general media. I know some of my DJ colleagues are on OnlyFans that just do curated sets because they don't have the same type of what's it called, copyright infringement. So it's a little bit easier to do things like do live streams and stuff like that.
Nice.
Use that information however you like. So.
Cat GPT with the Big Ten, Copacino and Coca-Cola for the panel.
We're all seething and coping, so
we're all seething and coping. And Lord says it's okay to be racist because Ben Shapiro probably wouldn't have been racist too. Soy Pill. Also, why does Soy Pill dress like a toddler? Are you bait?
Yeah, I do this to attract children, obviously. No, what the fuck? Ben Shapiro wouldn't have been racist. Ben Shapiro just is racist. What's the one you skipped over, Sarah? I want to see that one. Was it bad?
That was I don't do the $2. Yeah, I just don't do $2. They know better.
Yeah. Also, like this guy dresses like a toddler. Well, you fucking write like a 12-year-old. So get your Leet Speak 2005 Xbox bullshit out of there, dude.
Fired, nerd. All right, we'll get through a few more and then we'll bring the panel on. Chef Dylan says, just got here. What's up, y'all? This is evidence libs are too immature to hear the word gene without crapping themselves and needing a group therapy session. All self-reports. Shots fired.
Notice how
can I engage with that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm so confused, and maybe the folks coming in can like explain this a little bit better. I don't know how or why there's this idea that we can have a commentary on a particular perspective. There's a bunch of different perspectives that exist within this, but yet our perspective is the one. And again, I don't think we even have like full agreement on the ad itself. I think we're all on sort of like different lanes of this, but somehow like the discourse gets reduced to that for some people. I'm kind of curious why that happens.
That's fair. Well, I think because that's what we're seeing, right? Like in terms of like
sure
the little videos of people whining and crying. BB says most people can't separate personal emotional responses from facts and the real world. It's called freedom of speech. What?
No notes. He's right.
Yeah.
He's right. That's my argument. Thank you.
Chef Dylan says it's perfectly suitable for 4 leftists to be debating this topic, and they're not necessarily.
I'm not a leftist, so I don't know, but that's a whole other thing. We can probably get into that later.
MAGA, actually, so you are, unless you are MAGA, I don't know.
Are you MAGA?
I'm just an independent communitarian friend.
Oh,
that's it.
That's even happier for me because you could play both sides. K2 says, question, how come none of these people that are bitching about Sydney, bitching about the black teens that beat up the middle-aged white couple in Cincinnati?
These people know the what?
That are like, thank God for Sydney bringing back people into ads, because I have to look at all the like fucking black crime rage bait shit in my Twitter feed, and that's upsetting to me. So seeing a white person in a jeans ad, that's great. Like this person's.
Did you know there's World Star videos, guys? Why aren't you talking about the World Star hip hop videos?
This is so random.
Fair enough.
By the way, I disavow beating up random black or white people on the street.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I think no one should get jumped. I'm against physical assault.
I agree with that. And last one for now, there was no secret messaging in the KFC ad with the black family. They're saying, hey, look. I'll leave it there.
Yo, is he good? Like, and also what KFC at the okay.
Did that happen? I don't know.
I don't know. These people are more tuned to media than me.
I think that guy made it up.
These folks are more tuned to media than I am, I guess. All right.
Oh, all right. Well, we're ready for our panel backstage. Everyone buckle up, sit down, and enjoy the ride. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I see some new faces here. Tally, you're new. Far away, I think you've been here once before. Andrew, you're, of course, a regular. Brick, Evan. All right, everybody on the top panel is protected. I normally only do that on Monday nights, but we're doing Throwdown Thursday, so why not? Everyone below is bootable. Andrew, they would have to pay a lot to boot you, but I'll do it if they pay $500. And then somebody else has to pay $500 to bring you back up. So they probably just shouldn't do it. But anyway, I want to go ahead and kick the floor out. You guys know the drill. Keep the interruptions to a minimum. Let's have some fun. Go ahead.
Ryan, just admit that you are jealous of my blonde hair and blue eyes. Just admit
it. That's why you're a beautiful boy, Evan. Okay, but does everyone agree that Yahtzee propaganda explicitly constructed a racial hierarchy, placing the Aryan ideal at the top? The the blonde hair, blue eyes. This is at the top of the Aryan racial hierarchy of the National Socialist movement. Everyone agrees with that, right?
That was
American Eagle did not do that, though. They said that.
We can talk about what American Eagle did. That's not what I asked, right?
I don't even agree with that. No.
Okay, so let's dig into that. So you don't think that the National Socialist movement,
I want you
led by the mustache guy,
I want you to give me the evidence.
You want me to give you the evidence that the National Socialist movement
what you just did
created a racial hierarchy?
Stop restating it and fucking give me the evidence, dork.
Okay, so does anyone else require evidence for it, or am I just doing it for Andrew?
I want evidence, dork. Give us the
I
evidence.
think it'll be okay. So like,
give us the evidence for that shit you just made up, stupid dork. Give us the evidence.
Just to be clear, Andrew, I want to be on record. You're saying that I'm right. Just to be clear, Andrew, you're saying that I'm making up the idea.
Yeah.
Let me engage with him.
I know. Let's go one at a time.
Ryan. Show us the evidence, dork.
Okay, well, let me restate it so we can make sure everyone's on the same page.
How many times are you going to say the same shit? Just
one more time, at least one more time, apparently, right? So I just want to be clear. You are asking me for evidence. The Nazis, as we're saying here, they had a racial hierarchy where they had blonde hair and blue eyes at the top of that racial hierarchy.
Yes, Ryan. Give me the evidence, dork.
Open a fucking history book, Andrew. Go open any history book.
The evidence is you. That's what I thought, Ryan.
I'm sorry you didn't learn anything about World War II. I'm sorry. You're a dumbass. Like that's
Wait, yeah, Andrew.
Nothing, dork.
Go ahead.
Open a book, dude. I don't care. I'm not.
Pardon me, gentlemen.
So I do actually have I have a link of the Nazi racial hierarchy because they had a bunch of different ones.
Send it right now. And let's make sure we know who it's from, right? Because no, that's not actually accurate, Ryan. But I would love to see your fucking evidence. The reason that you guys suppose this is my claim.
It's got the Aryan
reason
race.
That you fucking idiots suppose this shit is because somebody told you that once, and you never bothered to look into it.
When I learned about World War II in school, someone told me about my teacher. I learned about World War II in school.
So what was the source? What was the source for this blue-eyed, blonde-haired hierarchy that you got from? What was the source of it?
My history textbook.
Your history textbook told you that.
No, I think so. It's like yikes. So, Coder, respectfully, I think what Andrew's pushing on is sure we might have this idea that it might point to that direction, but if you have a difficult time pinpointing that, it doesn't really make the argument that good. No. Is that what you're kind of knocking at, Andrew?
I want to be clear. My argument is that Ryan made it the fuck up, and he wants you to suppose that it's
Andrew's
true.
Doing what he always says, which is avoiding having any actual conversation by putting pressure on a useless point that no one disagrees with.
I'd love to hear what Andrew has to say.
Let me finish, Ryan.
Hold on. I want to hand it over to Faraway. He hasn't interrupted anybody. He kindly and politely raised his hand. Go ahead, Faraway.
Yeah, so I have a question to Ryan, right? Like, do you think Hitler was a dictator?
Yeah.
So how can the hierarchy be blue eyes and blonde hair if he was a dictator and boss of the whole Reich?
Dude, Faraway, that's so smart. No one has ever pointed out that Hitler was an Aryan. That's so fun.
I wasn't asking it. He was. I was asking Ryan, wasn't I?
Okay, so the ideology of the National Socialist movement did not they didn't put Adolf in power based on deciding they had blonde hair and blue eyes. This was the ideology glorified a pure German archetype, which was the blonde hair and blue eyes, and everybody knows this. Andrew's playing dumb. You're playing dumb, probably, but everyone else knows
evidence. But no evidence.
Ryan, you're mistaken.
A book. So a book that you
SS and done by Heinrich Himmler and the overall National Socialist movement.
I would like to bring this back to the actual ad.
This got weird. I feel like we're getting like.
Wait,
no, Andrew. Okay, so like, I hate to do this. I hate to do this. I know I'm on this side of the corner. I hate to do this. But Andrew is correct in the pushback. I think it's legitimate to say, like, come on, man. Racial hygiene is a book that you could cite. You could cite.
Necessary. It's not even necessary to get at the real culture war issue that's happening right now with all of the pushback to this ad. So sure, I'm willing to concede certainly that part of Nazi propaganda featured this racial hierarchy. However, American Eagle is not doing that. They said that Sydney Sweeney had good genes, that she is attractive. There is a real problem. This is like the it's okay to be white thing and the pushback to that. There's a real problem when we say if you happen by dint of birth to be born with white skin and blue eyes, you actually need to feel kind of queasy about being proud of that, or about being, people being attracted to you, or about getting any type of attention. That is messaging that is extremely harmful because we don't apply this across the board. First of all, I think
this exact reason to piss off liberals by 4chan and
exactly it is just like that, but not for the reasons you're saying.
Exactly. And do you know who it radicalizes? Do you know who it radicalizes? The people who are not invested in either ends of this culture war, and they just see people pushing back to this. Wow, people are saying people are so upset about this idea that it's okay to be white. So, just let me fucking speak, please.
That's not going to be possible, White Pill.
I know. So this First of all, the ad is brilliant. I've got good genes. My genes are blue.
Brilliant.
You can do this with a bunch of people with different colors of skin, even different colors of their eyes, and they can all say at the end, my genes are blue because the fucking genes are blue, okay? It's a brilliant ad. It's a good idea. They could do it with lots of other celebrities. No one would be upset if they were doing this with a black celebrity or with some type of brown celebrity, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And that double standard here is actually the problem. We are increasing the racial tension and actually increasing the types of neo-Nazi sentiment that you guys are pointing out. We are radicalizing people in that direction when we tell them that actually there is something that you need to be careful of when you're talking about yourself being white or having blue eyes. This is not Nazi Germany. If Nazi Germany wants to be very particular about how people propagandize for their businesses, I mean, I think free speech is a real problem in Germany, but that's something for them to work out. There is nothing Nazi-like about an ad with a white woman with blue eyes saying, I have good genes. Your genes are passed down from mother to father. Even the whole conversation about genes, we need to, you leave room for only the freaks, the bigots, and the crazy activists to have this conversation when normal people pretend that this or step away from this because it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about, okay? We need to be able to have this conversation. And no, there's nothing Nazi-like about having Sydney Sweeney talking about having good genes.
Okay, so just to be clear, when we talk about the it's okay to be white thing, it is a dog whistle that people were using intentionally. And the whole point of a dog whistle
I understand, Ryan, I understand. But the purpose
it's the plausible deniability. That's the whole thing of it.
Ryan, yes, but listen, the purpose of the dog whistle is not to attract other Nazis, other white supremacists, and people who think that being white is better than everything else. Yeah. Exactly. So you know what the left should have done when this came out? I actually won't even agree with the order of events here, that it was people on the right. Exactly. They should have fucking ignored it. But exactly, when people were coming out and saying, oh wow, this is a win. America is so back, baby. We have white people. Hold on.
Look, she's Jewish. I can't help it. We get angry at really innocuous
things. We have white women in our ads now. The left should have said, who cares? Who fucking cares? Why are you giving them something to say, look how fucking crazy these people are and look how racist these people are? Because it is racist.
You're more mad than any of the people on this panel about this.
Sydney Sweeney is white.
Tally. Hold on. They're gonna the people to my, I don't know how it looks like for you guys, but the people to the right of me are gonna monopolize this shit. I don't want to monopolize this shit.
Bill and Charlie are my frenemies.
But I agree with you. I also agree with what Andrew said. I think that if you have a particular claim about what you're observing, you got to substantiate it. Like, I think it's more reasonable to say that.
Okay, well, I posted the link.
That's cool. So, like, I think it's very reasonable to say that. If I'm going to cover both points, the Nazi Germany one and then the other one, right? So like certain communitarians, in particular Carl Schmitt, talked about the idea of constitutive opposites, that the idea that there's always sort of like this perpetual us versus them. And I think it's reasonable to say, if you point to people like Carl Schmitt and then Chantal Mouffe expanded on this and other communitarians, this argumentation that Nazi Germany, for instance, was trying to constitute an opposite. And by constituting an opposite, creating a them, that them included a bunch of other people. And maybe you could say that that pointed to Aryan, that was in what the fuck was that manifesto called for our boy Adolf? Yes. So like he mentioned the idea of Aryan. It's also in the book that I mentioned, racial hygiene.
Is that what it was called? My Journey?
My Journey, yeah.
That's why there's also always talking about the journeys because they're a bunch of Nazis.
I don't know. There's also the pointing to the like racial hygiene is a book by Dr. Porter, I think his name. I'll put it in the side chat when I get a minute. It speaks to the idea of like how what the us was in practice, and what Aryan meant, stuff like that. It's boring book shit. But I will agree with you that, Tally, that, yeah, you know, when fringes monopolize conversations, it makes it very hard for different expressions to exist, right? Like, I'm in the camp of, okay, this is going to piss a lot of people off.
Because normal liberals are backing out of the conversation. Normal liberals should be speaking.
I think as they should.
There's nothing wrong with this ad. There's nothing wrong with promoting people who have blonde hair and blue eyes. But instead, they're afraid of being.
No one here said that. This whole
Tally,
nobody said what you're saying.
Tally, respectfully,
with blonde hair and blue eyes needs to be careful.
Tally, I agree with you, brother.
K2 says, if you disagree with these people, you are a windmill, a friendship card carrying member every time. BB says 10-second rage baited already, Ryan, straight to the point.
Because he's fucking bullheaded, dude. He's pretending to not know like how the Aryan race works.
You're not?
I mean, I'm not.
Andrew, you talked to me that question. I want the record to show that. Like, I agree with Andrew's push there. It's a toxic push. I'm all for it. But yeah, I mean, like next time, I'm not going to
start.
I provided a source, okay, from the Holocaust Encyclopedia, right?
Yeah, and you know what that source doesn't say? That the Germans had a hierarchy in which blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were at the top of. It literally doesn't say that anywhere in the source.
Yazis actually says exactly that. The Yazis idealize Aryans as blonde, blue-eyed, athletic, and tall.
Show me which part.
I posted the link.
But who cares?
Okay, so Sarah has to do some work. Sarah has to do some work. Sarah has to do some.
Try to avoid any actual conversation happening, so he tries to dig into this rabbit hole.
Into the link while you guys are arguing, but first let me get through two more. Grid says Tally is killing it. I need her as a guest on my show. Yes, Tally. I think we're all about to be messaging you here in the next couple.
Yeah, I love how Tally came in and pointed out what normal liberals should be saying and how they shouldn't be all outraged, which is exactly what we all did. We just had a casual conversation about ways this could be interpreted by various people. Nobody said anything insane. Nobody said the American Eagle needs to be canceled. Nobody said Sweeney's a Nazi. Like
you're asking for cookies because you're like, look, we didn't go as crazy as we used to.
Yeah, I want a fucking cookie. Yeah,
and I just want to let you know I can't even find the word blonde in this thing.
First of all, there are people.
Okay, well, you didn't click on my article then.
Yeah, I did. It's the Nuremberg race laws. Nuremberg race laws. Can you post
that's not even
that's
Ryan,
not me.
Andrew.
That's somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So which link am I looking at?
The one from Ryan.
The one I posted.
The encyclopedia. Wait, you posted.
Like I said, the Holocaust Encyclopedia. Yeah.
Holocaust Encyclopedia.
Yeah, is that not a reliable source for you?
Nazi ideas. Okay, I got it. Hold on, I will read it. Shut up. Nazi ideas about that. How do you say Aryan race? Hitler Nazis identified Germans as members of Aryan race according to the Nazis.
What's their source? I want their source.
Hey, Andrew, can I ask a question real quick?
Nazis idealized. Hold on, it says it right here. Nazis idealized Aryans as blonde, blue-eyed, athletic.
Yeah. Okay. So hang on. This is from a Jewish organization who's saying it.
Listen to this. Yeah, that's the problem with it. Yeah, we can't trust it because it's from the Jews, right?
I want their source.
It is Andrew Wilson, did the Holocaust happen?
Yeah. But anyway, I want the source.
Wait, how many people died in the Holocaust?
6 million, as far as I'm aware. I still want the source.
A lot more than that. Okay, that's how many Jews died.
Wait,
a lot
more source for that, Andrew?
Yeah, there are sources for that. This is a different question. This is a different question.
No, I want to know.
Hang on. Let me defend myself because these are some crazy ass accusations being thrown at me. Right?
I didn't make
First
an
of all,
accusation.
where in the world would you ever get this idea that somebody, me, who's historically literate, actually historically literate,
you couldn't even click on the right link from Ryan, buddy.
Would think these crazy.
Right?
Wait, I'm sorry.
It doesn't even say Ryan under that link.
Can I fight with Andrew? It seems like that's the trend.
Hang on, let me at least say my piece, right? Fucking dumb dork with your stupid hat. The case of the matter is that I am actually historically literate. Oh, did I click the wrong link? Therefore, he must not be historically. Good job, soy pilly fucking retard. So back to this. Here's what I understand.
Ableism too.
I understand how
Nazis were also very.
I understand how racialism operated inside of Nazi Germany, and in for instance, if we were to take fascist Italy, you would have you would have a completely different model than what you would have inside of Germany, right? Because of Catholicism and other things. It is actually only the case that there were some advocates inside of the Nazi party and eugenics programs who did want to push this type of ideology, but at the government level, it's not necessarily true. Why would I bring this up when you talk about the Holocaust Museum, right? Is it because you just don't rely on a source because it's a Jewish source? No, because they may be sourcing to information which is not great. They just might be sourcing to information which isn't great. If they had a primary source that they link to, I'm happy to read it.
Yeah, so
that's how
half an hour, Andrew, you can just make your claim of what
I just made it.
Or you could have been reading. You could have been checking into the source.
I just made it.
That's has a PhD in German history.
Good for him.
That's watching my stream. Not Jewish, no, just German. And they have said that racial hierarchies were central to Nazi ideology.
I want the evidence, not I said so.
Andrew. Where's the
racial hierarchy in the American? So where's the racial hierarchy in the American Eagle at?
First of all, we're not even talking about racial hierarchy. We're talking about the fact that Ryan said blonde hair, blue-eyed. That was the top of the hierarchy. That's what I'm looking for evidence
typical
for.
Aryan, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
show me the primary sources for this.
What would please you, Andrew?
A primary source.
He wants a
Tell me what's an acceptable primary source.
Andrew,
Like,
can I guess what you're? Can I just make a guess what you're looking for, Andrew?
Yes.
From what I'm hearing you say, you're not disagreeing with the idea that Aryan was the us and non-Aryan was the them. Am I understanding you correctly there?
Correct.
Gotcha. So the thing that it sounds like you're contending with is the idea of what Aryan is pointing to.
Yes.
Right. So so you're familiar with what I'm throwing down. Schmidt,
So for
these other
instance,
fucking
you're right.
communitarians.
For instance, here in the United States, most of our wartime billboards also showed blonde hair, blue-eyed boys going off to the front. Many of the superheroes had blonde hair and blue-eyed, and that was.
And then in America, for instance,
thing is, with blonde hair and blue eyes, plenty of Middle Eastern
please let Andrew cook, Tally. Please let Andrew cook.
Hang on.
Please let Andrew cook.
Was that due to the fact that the United States wanted only blonde hair, blue-eyed people at the top of the hierarchy? No, it's because it was part of their propaganda campaign. All I'm asking for is a primary source, right? Which shows what it is that you're trying to demonstrate, so that we can at least have a conversation under the same suppositions.
What do you think Ryan is claiming when he says a hierarchy is Aryan?
He just said it, man.
Because obviously, hold on, real quick, Ryan, real quick. Right,
he wants a source referencing blonde hair and blue eyes. That's what he
wants. Yeah, or at least pointing to definitively, like when
pointing definitively, yes.
So like, what does Aryan? What is Aryan?
What is
like, what does Aryan?
What is the
look
Aryan?
like?
What are we pointing?
And
to
he's
here?
and he's just contending to the source of it. That's it. If you don't have that, that's cool. We can probably table it if that's the case.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
I don't have it on my fingers.
But if you do, it's cool.
But everyone knows this is the case. Andrew's playing dumb. That's the whole thing I'm pointing out.
Can we confirm that when the word Aryan is said, we now have an association with blonde hair and blue eyes? We can all agree upon
Can I be honest with you?
Apparently not, because we're playing dumb. Because Andrew's playing dumb.
I'm not. No. Like, God. I think.
Well, you're either playing dumb or actually dumb. I don't think you're actually dumb. So it's
Aryan, actually, Ryan. Just so you know, I think of Iran when I think of Aryan. Can you think of why that would be, Ryan? Why would it be that I would think of Iran?
Meanings in the past, Andrew.
Why would I think of that?
Why is the word Asian and Caucasian? I don't understand. You got to prove to me what it means, Ryan. Let's spend 30 minutes.
Oh, hey.
The definition literally says for Aryan, relating to or denoting peoples speaking Indo-European or specifically Indo-Iranian languages or ancient peoples.
Oh shit!
Wait. I looked it up. Aryan is actually a yogurt drink from Turkey.
So,
I don't think it has anything to do with Nazis or even race.
The term Aryan.
Hold on. That's the first definition. The second, it does say dated. And then the second one, it says in Nazi ideology of or denoting white non-Jewish people, especially those of Northern European origin or descent, typically having blonde hair and blue eyes, and regarded as the supposedly superior racial.
Well, at least we settled that.
Okay, so like to build upon that a little bit, because there's two parts of this, right? Like, and I talked about this within my thing and like the main like thing. If you didn't watch that, if this is ending up anywhere, watch the first half of the panel. So like, in the book, God, I just lost my train of thought. In the book Nazi Conscience, Claudia Kuhns kind of knocks on this idea that it wasn't just Aryan, wasn't just what you looked like, but you also had to adopt the ideas, the beliefs, and the sentiments that the Aryan race was at the top of the ideological spectrum. And when I say ideological, it's like how you look, how you behave, and all those things, and that you ought to take preference.
That's where the term honorary Aryan came from. The term honorary Aryan came from you're trying to adopt this way of life. Your guys are what Ryan's doing is he conflates propaganda, right, with the truth of the matter. And so the thing is all I'm trying to do is say, if you come in with the supposition of, isn't it true that there's this vast Nazi hierarchy where blonde hair, blue eyed people were at the top of it? Well, no, Ryan, that's actually not true. And so I'm not going to accept that framework as being true. It's not true.
We've established
the Nazi hierarchy.
Propaganda.
Wait.
So I think Andrew. So if I'm understanding what you're,
when you say hierarchy, are you contending with the idea that like, oh, there was like they prioritized or made second-class citizens of people that weren't Aryan? Because I don't think Ryan has ever made that claim.
Why would that be necessary for hierarchy?
That's what I'm asking. What do you mean when you say there was not
so
this
hierarchy is going to be people at the top, people below them, below them, below them, below them.
What does it mean on top? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. You head the country or in the positions
I'm
of power,
asking you, what does that mean? Do you think
I'm telling you what it means.
Blonde hair and blue-eyed was better? Because that's all Ryan's saying.
No, they didn't believe that blonde hair, blue-eyed was better.
It wasn't. Okay, so to give it, like, God damn, do I have to be on the bottom? Do I have to be?
Because they did. Couldn't that have just been kind of coincidental? I mean, if I go to
so explicit, Sarah.
It's so explicit. This is really weird.
But no. What I'm saying is,
like, weird?
If I go to Scotland and I see a bunch of redheaded people, and they, you know, like, I feel like it's just.
Well, there's a lot of swarthy Germans. My
family. Andrew, buddy, listen. Like, so. I don't rope me in with these other people. Maybe I have to be on the bottom here. I don't know, but like something that I'm hearing in what you're saying, and maybe like I'll make a claim or sort of like speak to something, and maybe this is what you're throwing down. Like in different societies and in different communities, people will have this idea of who they are, like who the us is, and that dominant us,
and who belongs within that us categorization.
Right. And then what happens is that us tries to define itself. It can define itself by it looked, how they behave, all that shit. Good. Great.
Or they can give multiple realms of qualia for it. So you don't have to look this way, still be this thing. One way that you can indicate you are this thing is how you look this way. That's one way to do it. This is another way to do it. This is another way. But specifically, when Ryan asked me, though, isn't it true that there's a hierarchy in X place and that this people group is on the top of it and they look like this? The answer unequivocally is
in the ideology.
Stop.
Ideologically.
Stop, bro. Stop. We're not operating immediately under the same framework. Now, if you demonstrate that to me, I'm willing to concede it so we can operate on the same framework, or you can just fucking correct yourself
when he
and
gave
then we
you
can
a
move
source,
on.
You said, I don't trust these sources because their sources are
if the source didn't make the claim, we're at the top of the hierarchy, bro.
What does that mean to be on top? They said they prioritize blonde hair and blue eyes, and you're like, that's not what I meant. That's what Ryan means. Ryan says that proves his point. You're not
prove his point.
Sarah has to do some work.
Thank you. The German, Jonty comes in with a big 50 of something, I'm guessing. The German National Catechism is German primary source, serialized to expound on the Aryan race propaganda. Werner May, Deutscher National Catechismus, second edition, in the citations. Where you can find it.
I just want to be clear. Hang on, Andrew.
People have been using beautiful
the
people.
Topic, I believe the topic tonight is whether or not the ad is propaganda, right? That's the topic that we're talking about. So we keep saying propaganda as if it's like super distinct from what we're talking about. That is actually the topic. We're talking about Yahtzee propaganda.
It's fine to engage within the idea of propaganda. Yes, I agree. It's fine to engage in the idea of propaganda, but just because X group uses propaganda and other X group or Y group uses propaganda doesn't mean it's for the same reasons, the same type, or
never said it was. Never made that claim. Agree, Andrew. True.
Dude, calm down.
Maybe we're on the same page.
Maybe we can actually make some headway here. So all I'm pointing out here is
slogging us down for an hour, dude. Kill me.
I feel it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is my bad.
The thing is that somebody says
this is something everyone here learned in like 9th grade.
Does everybody agree with X? The answer is like no. Give me the demonstration of the proof of that agreement, and you never did. You never gave me the demonstration of the proof they're at the top of this hierarchy. You just made it up, Ryan. You made it up.
So to something that to something that Tally said, and to piggyback on what Andrew said. I do think that there is a sort of cultural expression in the United States that points to people that look like Sydney Sweeney as like sort of desirable individuals. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's just Sydney Sweeney that's desirable. That wasn't what I was saying. That's why I said I'm piggybacking what I'm saying something separate to what you're saying.
Don't you think that what's all that's going on here is that leftists are mad because hot chicks are selling shit and it pisses them off because they want big, fat, ugly fucking bitches all over
only
everything?
Slightly. They do want this. No, Andrew, they want this to be a race thing. They want this to be.
Oh God, no! Whoa! Hold on, Tally. Fuck that shit.
Saying they. Okay.
Like, so who's the so like yeah so like who's the they here? So from
about this. The people
sure,
who
I'd
are angry
I'd absolutely agree with you. There's a
It
lot
is
of
mostly
people.
leftist race baiters who are doing this. She's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
about
I'd agree. I'd agree. Yeah,
So,
I did.
the most views. You're going to say it's from leftists, right?
No.
No,
What
it's
I've
just
seen
like
predominantly on Twitter, the major accounts that promote this that are going this whole jeans means Nazi, this shit. They are actually leftist race baiters. I can
the ones who are talking about it the most are going to be leftists, is what you're saying.
No, not specifically leftists.
The ones complaining
leftist
about it.
Race baiters, Ryan.
The ones complaining about it.
So
not
do you
just
agree
out
that
of the
there's a
people
difference
talking
between a
about
leftist and a leftist race baiter? That not
Okay,
every
so
leftist.
what I'm pointing out is there's probably a lot more people who are talking about leftists being upset about it than there are leftists being upset about it.
yeah, but Andrew's right though.
That's not what I said, bro.
Yeah, like,
That's not
hold on,
what I said.
Andrew's.
I know. I said a different thing, Andrew. I don't have to respond exactly to everything you say personally.
So then it has nothing to do with what I said.
I believe that your sentiment is legitimate. I don't know where Ryan and Zoe land on this, but I do think that there are people that see the situations going on with this. They look at the discourse that is possible and then seize on that opportunity. Is that what you're trying to say, Andrew? In a variation of what you're saying?
No, here's what I'm saying specifically.
Gotcha.
Right.
I'm
I'll
ready.
just caveat it. Simple.
Sure.
While it is the case that there's all sorts of people talking about this left and right, the people who are pushing the end of this, that this is part of a Nazi propaganda campaign for fat. We were just reviewing a ton of TikToks on it earlier. A bunch of dumb women, bunch of dumb 40 to 50-year-old ugly women, by the way, who are all bitching that it was all part of some Nazi campaign because they use the word jeans and jeans. They use this crazy ass. What a crazy thing to use this play on words. Nobody ever thought of that before.
Do you think that there's
the Twitter accounts who are pushing this that I find who are leftists? Also, if you go through their tweets, what do you find? Shitloads of race baiting. It's almost always race baiting on those major accounts. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me a bit.
Do you think that there's like, because here's my read. I think that those accounts that you're describing are kind of doing too much, where you can say that like, oh, there might be some coded language in this ad, but to go as far to say that it's Nazi propaganda, to go as far as to say that it's no different. Sorry, Yahtzee. I'm sorry, sir. To go so far to say it's pointing to like old school German iconography and stuff like that. That's kind of like a bridge too far. That's kind of where I'm at. Where
it doesn't have to be coded language either. It's just it's a play on words.
There's actually just nothing wrong with saying it.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's just nothing literally wrong with this chick saying, I have good genes and I'm wearing good jeans. There's just nothing
None
wrong.
of us are saying there's anything wrong with it, by the way.
Then what's the
But at the same time,
Here's mad about the ad.
I'm just gonna every time you guys do this, I'm just gonna start reading super chats because they want to be heard too. Adolf actually wanted to preserve diversity. He wrote about it in his book. He found it disgraceful when languages and tribes were dissolved.
Yeah, but to push on that, he also made it explicitly clear that you had to be subservient in some. I'm using subservient because it's the best word I can use right now. But you give special treatment and special care to the Aryan identity.
Yeah, he had
at the expense.
Sure.
Yeah.
All the Nazis had in-groups. Yes, the fascists had in-groups. Communists had in-groups. All of them had in-groups. America also at the time, by the way, had in-groups. You couldn't be black and be part of them. Okay? Or Indian and be part of them.
By the way,
no one argued I don't know what to tell you.
No, but can we build on that? Right. But Andrew actually has a point that is kind of important, right? Where if you are a society that said no blacks, and that was America for we're not that far removed from the noble, like the no blacks. Like that's within my family's generation. That's like my grandparents. And then basically society has the task of going, well, if we have to include blacks, how do we include them? And then there are a bunch of different answers to that. I will say that over the past like 5 to 6 years, there has been a push of saying like, hey, in our media spaces, we don't really see a lot of, for lack of a better term, black people, for lack of a better term, non-white people in different roles. That could be things like in modeling, that could be things in acting, superheroes, what have you. And I will say that I think there was an overcorrection. I think that there was a company's desires of not seeing that, oh, we ought to include these people in these spaces. I think they were just like, yeah, this is kind of profitable. Like, let's put some black people in this. It's going to make us money. It's going to tap into a particular base of people who might want to buy our products, even though we don't necessarily give a shit about them. And I think in part, what's happened, especially in the advent of Donald Trump, is that basically people kind of said, like, no, fuck that. We don't want to, like, we're not saying fuck that insofar as we hate black people and we hate minorities, but fuck that, and that we see that you're trying to do this sort of racial readjustment, and this racial readjustment is making people angry, and you don't care about who you make angry, but we're just going to keep driving that. And I think things like Sydney Sweeney's ad, I think things like, kind of to an extent, Superman, but not completely, are pointing to that, like, hey, you know, we can also have white people and all the ideas that white people may contain in these spaces as well, and they can be in harmony with all these other groups of people. And
I would just, well, what I would add to, though, is there's maybe a point that you're missing here, which is there used to be mass vilification of non-white people on TV. That was
sure.
a big portion of
Disney,
of early
right?
American history.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you know that?
Yeah. But
Can you demonstrate it?
The thing, yes, actually, I can. Would you like me
primary
to?
source? Can you give me?
Oh yeah, I mean, no, like, so I can give an example.
Yes,
I mean, like, to.
No,
like, the
I
point.
need you to get it right now.
We all know. I'm just.
Yes.
Okay,
Before we move
okay,
on,
gotcha.
let's
Yeah.
stop
So,
talking and
so anyway, yes, I don't.
No,
I don't
you
make
give me the
claims
primary
against
source right now, Andrew.
No, damn it! I want.
Would you like the
history?
Yeah, I will as soon as I'm done talking to Joe Lewis.
No, not done.
Yeah.
No, we can't move on.
We're gonna have an hour-long conversation about this
now.
now.
You have to establish it, Andrew, before you can move on from that point, because you're building an argument on fake axioms.
This message is sponsored in part by.
Anyway, it's just
oh, that was you.
That was their ass. Where did the ass come from?
Okay, listen, everybody's really excited to get their words in, but we have to do this in a very mindful, civil, respectable, to some degree way. You're all adults. I shouldn't be putting on the babysitter gloves already. It's a little too early for that, but let's just fucking be me. Like, okay.
So easy, right?
Wait,
so
I'm bored. I want to go.
So Joe Lewis agreed with my premise. The guy I'm arguing with.
Charlie, thank you for joining.
I don't care.
Oh, hold on.
See you later, Charlie.
Charlie,
I don't actually care if soy pill
Hold
does.
on. Charlie, did you want to give any final thoughts before you go? Are you heading out?
Yes, I have no final thoughts. I hope Sydney Sweeney is okay. She was crying on the internet. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, Charlie.
All right, Charlie. Have a good one now, all right?
So anyway, Joe, the vilification we were talking about, I think that was the key component that's missing is, yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, but if you're talking about the early vilification minority groups to now, what I don't think it's just a matter of overcorrection. I think that now there's become vilification towards whites, period. When it comes to them being in any form of media, especially if they're attractive, that becomes some type of major issue for leftists. Now, I don't even think that it's mostly the minority groups who care. I think it's a bunch of grotesque, ugly, fat leftist women with purple hair who get really fucking mad about it. And then they go, come on, all you black people, you're coming with us. I think that that's what happens in real time.
So I'm not going to go as far.
It's much more an academic class thing. It really
I'm not going to.
It's a multicolored coalition. Some of them fat and ugly, but some of them surprisingly good looking, who are invested in this from an ideological position. I really do think that's where most of this is coming
Which ones
from.
are good looking?
There's also a lot of fat, ugly white men.
Listen, Andrew, I'll give you a name. Andrew, I'll give you a name. I'll give you a name.
He's a leftist.
Wait, speaking of ugly middle-aged women, I think.
God damn it!
So doing super chats, Andrew.
No, I wouldn't worry about wives. Not a problem you're ever going to have. But anyway, Joe.
No, so like Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Right. So something that drives me nuts when I watch certain black political commentators, in particular Brianna Joy Gray. I think she's notorious at this, where she'll be having a conversation with a conservative or like a illiberal conservative. I'll put kind of like that, where she'll be sort of like aiming to do a race route, and you can kind of tell that she's doing it, but she only does it to white conservatives, where for black conservatives, she's a little bit more, how you would say, lenient to some of the scrutiny that she levies, when I think that like, oh, if there was a white conservative you were talking to, then you would just be going hard on the paint on them. And like any type of point that they make, you're gonna like, if they make any type of slip, you're gonna just like harp on that for 40 minutes to generate content, to generate clips, to generate outrage, when it's like, you don't have to do that. Like you can just let people speak freely about how they feel about something, what they're observing, and then that can the virality can come from that. Like I think something
I don't know, that sounds too rational, Joe.
I mean, something, listen, I have a strong critique about you arguing with those women on that one podcast. I forget what it's called, but I see your face and just dogging these girls. I'm like, damn, man. But I will say this, something that you do that's interesting is that you just kind of let them talk and you just kind of let that speak for itself. And then you just kind of call it out. And then it's just like, well, that's not what I said. And it's like, I mean, I let you cook. You gave me steak. I'm calling it steak. And now you're saying it's ham. And yeah, like that's, I think that's an issue where if you're having discussions about the Sydney Sweeney ad, for instance, you can say like, hey, like it's pointing to this idea that Sydney Sweeney calls to an older representation of what a woman looked like, not only in build, but also in just kind of like aesthetic and ideas. Even though I don't think Sydney Sweeney really articulates any of her ideas, but there's definitely like her look points to something. And I think media recognizes that and like, oh, she's pointing in a particular direction. We can use her for that. And then
you get it sells, right?
What's that?
It's pointing to sex because it sells.
She's hot and she's popular right now. It's literally not that complicated. It's not harkening back to some past.
That's not why the American Ego stock soared by 18%. Like, not because just because she's hot isn't why the stock soared by 18%.
That's overreacted. That's why.
Yeah,
she calls back like she does definitely call back.
Popular right now.
She definitely calls back to an aesthetic. She definitely calls back to an aesthetic of like
American
the sales
Eagle
went
is not
crazy.
fucking Nazi
Hang on, the sales and shit went crazy.
I'm not saying that, but I understand what you're saying now.
Because of the slingshot effect of you crazy leftists freaking out about it.
No one
Otherwise, they
here
wouldn't
is
have done
freaking
that.
out about it.
The controversy, I agree, Andrew.
I mean, but they were freaking out about it, and they still are all over the internet.
Some are upset for sure.
Yeah, we're not talking about them though. I mean, we are, but we're not.
Sorry.
I mean, exactly. That's what we are talking about.
This is disingenuous because for anyone who listened to the first hour and a half of the panel, you guys are upset about it. It's true. You're being reasonable. You're talking about it. You're not trying to cancel anybody. You guys literally said that somebody who looks. Hold on. You guys literally said that somebody who looks like Sydney Sweeney really needs to be conscious about participating in an ad that's going to be talking about genes and talking about generations. And
woe is me. Woe is me.
Hold on.
All right, I'm gonna start reading.
Someone might critique me on the internet if it's not racially conscious.
Rachel comes in with a big pen and says, "Ryan, everyone knows is a logical. Pardon me for a moment, please. Logical fallacy called argumentum ad populum. You absolute spoon."
Yeah, sorry, I should have said everyone who ever took a high school class on World War II.
I want to give credit to Rachel. Calling someone a spoon is pretty funny. I haven't heard that in a while.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, who says spoon? Dearden says, key points, attractive. Sydney Sweeney looks good in those jeans. Libs lost their minds. Beyonce did an ad. Nobody cared. And by the way, she was blonde in that ad too.
Hold on. That's okay, go for it. Sorry. Keep cooking.
There was no problem in the ad whatsoever. Shout out to Andrew. Calm down, libs.
All right, so I want to push back on that directly. I really want to push on back on directly. Like, listen, I'm going to be real with you. White people didn't care about the Beyonce ad. Like, y'all aren't in black spaces. They were making think ads and when I say think pieces and commentary about what her blonde hair points to. The whole Cowboy Carter, the entire album was a whole discourse within black Twitter spaces, them arguing about like, oh, well, what is she actually pointing to with this? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, this is a woke, this is an ideological problem. It really isn't like I agree with Andrew largely. It's not minorities or people like that who are upset about this. But yes, there are a lot of black people upset about this because they come from a similar ideological worldview, from this left-wing ideological worldview.
Well,
That's what we're talking about the significance.
Instead of only talking about the people upset about it, why don't we talk about the people emboldened by it? Why don't you guys want to talk about those people?
Okay,
Tally. I know, Tally. I understand.
Stop. Nope, everybody stop. I'm going to do a couple more because you guys can't get along. Andy says, blue hair and blonde eyes symbolized an existing aesthetic idea, not top of that hierarchy. The real hierarchy was fluid, shaped by politics. Don't confuse aesthetic representation. The
Andrew,
ad.
you're nodding right now. If you
Talk about
said
propaganda.
Yo, so
that
can I just
succinctly,
like
you would've
make
saved
something?
45 minutes,
I don't know. I
so
can't hear you,
that
bro.
would've
What
been
did you
great.
say?
Yeah,
I
real
said-
fast. Who was the
said what you
person on the
said,
bottom?
I still can't hear you, bro.
Hold on.
Sorry.
No, I want to make something.
Hold
I
on,
want to just
1 second. Andrew,
powdery
Andrew,
dusty, powdery dusty, powder dusty. YouTube can flag content that belongs to other sources just by video alone. That happened to me. Don't show the Cindy Sweeney ad. I don't want to see someone like Sarah get demonetized for some reason that she can't substantiate.
Show the Sweeney ad more now than I do now. After you tell me
I
that.
wish I gave a fuck. Just don't do it. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like it could flag. It could flag your channel. I don't want to see that happen to somebody.
Streaming off this.
Okay, so
not a moron. I've been streaming a while. I'm also streaming off this. There's a whole panel here. There's a whole bunch of noise. I can show the ad for about.
All right, let's not get into that portion.
No,
Airborne.
no, Sarah, let me make my fucking point. Jesus Christ.
Oh my
Andrew, if
God,
you
well-
were nodding along to that comment, if you just said that and said, hey, Ryan, you're confusing hierarchy with aesthetic ideal, which is
I
what
said
Ryan
it
was
4
saying the
times,
entire
dude.
time. No, you didn't
Yes,
fucking
I
say that.
did.
This is the point. You're like, actually,
I
people
literally
that
gave you the example of
love
propaganda
language
for
and
aesthetics,
just
you stupid
say
fuck.
aesthetic ideal. It's so fucking easy. You're
I
such-
literally said propaganda for
Oh my God,
aesthetic
he's
ideals, you
interrupting me.
stupid
Sarah,
fuck.
play the beans
I.
butt. He
Good
can't
Lord.
stop interrupting. He can't let me finish. Oh my God.
Do you understand? Why did I bring up
You're
propaganda?
inarticulate. You're long-winded. And
Why did I bring up propaganda?
What
I'm asking you a question. Why did I bring up propaganda? Why did I bring up propaganda? Why did I bring up propaganda?
Just Andrew. Please.
Yeah, you don't even fucking just sit there with your stupid hat. Just sit there, dude.
Andrew,
All
you're
right,
trying.
The
Airborne
adults are talking.
says, wow, these progressive Muppets are definitely suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect. Sources, definitions, what are those? How dare you?
Drop
you
sources. So
racist.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So Andrew, something that maybe you can clarify a bit. Like when I hear people talk about the idea of like preferred aesthetic, right? And that there was a preferred aesthetic. That is true, but that puts other aesthetics in opposition to that. Do you think that creates a hierarchy, or do you think it's pointing to something else?
It depends on what we're talking about.
Sure.
It can, but it doesn't always. Like, for instance, I would say that people have a preference for an aesthetic of angular features in women, right? This would be across almost all races. They prefer angular features. They like certain hip ratios to breast ratios.
Oh, angular. Gotcha.
Yeah. Things like this, right? Does that mean
Symmetry.
that those women are at the top of a hierarchy, though? Well, I mean, it depends on how you would frame it. If you say, are they at the top of an attractiveness hierarchy? Maybe, but are they on the top of a social hierarchy? Not so much. So this idea, if you're like, blonde hair, blue-eyed people are at the top of the Nazi hierarchy. Well, you're talking then about a social political
propaganda.
hierarchy.
My
You're talking
my
about
statement was
something
literally
totally
in the
different.
propaganda.
Ryan,
Nazi
just calm down. I'll let
racial
you
hierarchy
respond.
specifically.
So
I'm
my
talking
statement
about
from the
different
beginning.
things.
You don't have to let me do anything. From the beginning, my statement was in the propaganda. It was constructed a racial hierarchy, which we all agree. You agreed. You said it like 5 times now. You agree. So we all agree.
You didn't say
Is
that,
what
bro.
you said.
That
You
is
said
exactly
it.
what he's
Go
been
back.
saying the
Go
entire
back.
time.
It's
He
not right.
explicitly said
It's saying
racial
the propaganda.
hierarchy.
Racial hierarchy
Yes.
explicitly is
Yes.
what you said.
I said
In the
Nazi
propaganda.
propaganda
In the
explicitly
propaganda.
constructed a racial hierarchy.
Just say that.
I read it from my fucking notes. I read it every time.
They're at the top.
Maybe if you just
They're
asked
at
him
the
instead of
top the
interrupting him a
racial
bunch of times,
hierarchy. They're
Andrew, you could
not,
have got to the
though.
point of what he was
They're
trying to say.
not at
instead
the
of
top
being a
of the
fucking
racial
dumbass.
hierarchy is the
Like,
point,
come on.
stupid.
In the
'cause you were
propaganda, they
saying
were.
No, they weren't. You having blonde hair and blue eyes didn't put you at the top of a
Oh my
racial
God, dude.
hierarchy.
This is so ridiculous.
If you were Aryan, you dumb fuck. How many times I got to tell you that?
Andrew, do you think that
Good
within
Lord.
this?
Andrew,
Do you
if keep being
think?
retarded, you might raise
You're
up
literally
whatever point you think you're making,
because
you
you
gotta
have blue
be
eyes and
fat,
blonde
dude.
hair, dude. It's not how it works.
Andrew, do you think within this Sweeney ad, it's trying to point to that aesthetic that we used to call back to?
Well,
That's
no,
a weird way of wording that. I'm sorry.
It's a maybe it's a retro ad.
How far back?
I could have sworn I asked Andrew.
How far
Talley.
back?
If I address you, I'll address you. Right?
Yeah.
Is
How
that
far
Andrew? I'm
back?
sorry.
How far back?
Panel.
I'd say if I had to make kind of like a guess, I would say it's kind of the 80s, like that sort of like
more
Gene.
the literal ad. That
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
referencing?
That's a bit closer.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but the whole thing was structured to be
Yeah.
a throwback. That's
Yeah.
why she was driving a classic car and shit, right?
Oh, the other ad or whatever. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Do you think that is propaganda in of itself, or do you think it's kind of just something else?
No, I think
What's
that
your
she's
take?
trying. I think that she's trying to do a tried and true marketing, or they're trying to do a tried and true marketing method. It works like this: man's penis gets hard when sees thing, when sees hot chick do thing.
Sure.
Then women see that man penis gets hard and want to be the thing that makes penis hard. In this case, Sydney Sweeney wearing those jeans. So man penis get hard. Woman wants to look like thing that man penis gets hard for. Buy jeans. Very fucking simple.
Desire
really
feels like a desire. Sure.
Glad you caught up to the first 2 minutes of the debate, Andrew.
And for everybody watching over on the tomato side, I'm going to shut down tomato. We're going to raid over to the gauntlet. The gauntlet is up and running. I'm also dropping that link into the chat several times again and again. So please be sure to maneuver over. Thank you.
Tali, I have a question specifically for you because you made a complaint about us being